What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Podcastmania. That is right. I'm back with my good partner, Nick. Nick, say hello to the people, my man.
Hello to the people. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So we're back. We're back about 2 weeks after our last recording. And we're here with our reactions to WrestleMania. 41, day one and night one and night two. We talked about for almost damn near 3 hours on the predictions video. So guys, I don't believe this one will go nearly as long. Because there was about a month in between. Oh, well, not even a month. About like 6 weeks in between Elimination Chamber and that predictions video that me and Nick had to get caught up on.
There was a lot of the road to WrestleMania that we were talking about, right? So there was a lot there to cover.
Yeah, so we're just gonna be talking about night one and night two. We're going to be talking about the matches, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then kind of maybe talking about a little bit about the future. But before we get into it, I guess the meat and potatoes of it all. Nick, what was your opinion of WrestleMania 41? If you could give it a score 1 out of 10, what would you give it?
Okay, this was definitely not the best WrestleMania of all time. I don't think anyone that watched it would think that. However,
I would hope so. I would hope not.
However, I think a lot of the matches were pretty good. Mm-hmm. At least, I mean, I've told you this, Luke. I've watched it a second time, and just to be able to make sure I've got my thoughts all in one place. And like the individual matches were fine. I felt like the thing overall. Okay, if I'm giving a score, I'm gonna say a 7, definitely above average. So the way I see, a lot of people see like 5 is bad. 5 is average, right? Mm-hmm. I would say it was above average, but it wasn't reaching those dizzying heights of like a 9 or 10 or anything like that. What about you, Luke?
I'm a little bit lower on it than you are. Not anything crazy, but like I'd probably go a 6. I feel like specifically when we get into it, the night 2 main event was my biggest sticking point of it all. And I feel like when you when WrestleMania ends on a low note, I think it affects the entire show as a whole. So we'll get into that, but I mean, I would say that one, and then a couple matches here or there where I'm just like, where I'm a little bit down on it overall. But I will say night 2 was definitely much better than night 1 on the terms of the match quality, which we'll obviously get into in my personal opinion. But I think night 1's main event was like, if that was the end of night 2's main event, I think I would probably bump this show up to like a 7 or an 8.
Luke, I agree with you, but we are getting well ahead of ourselves here. Let's do this in order, man. Right. Okay. Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. This is how you're opening Mania. I think it's a big one to open on, like big enough to be an opener. Definitely not a main event, but big enough for an opener. Luke, what are you feeling about it?
I mean, honestly, I thought this was the perfect opener. Usually when you start WrestleMania, in my opinion, you want to have a really big baby face opening up the show just to get the arena hype. And I will, like, one of my main notes I have here is literally just Jey is so fucking over. Like, people who the people who don't like Jey obviously are just like people on the internet that don't like his wrestling style, but you cannot deny that this man is over as heck with the fans. And when you've got someone as over as Jey Uso, you gotta kind of put the rocket to his back and shoot him straight to the middle. I mean, I'm talking like I haven't seen someone this over since freaking 08 Jeff Hardy. Like, these people absolutely adore Jey Uso. Like, there's not a single boo in the crowd. I mean, he's got an awesome chance. So yeah, like, this is the way you start off WrestleMania. The match itself, obviously I think this was Jey Uso's best singles match that I've seen with Gunther. It had a good back and forth aspect of it. Obviously, Jey ends up picking up the win which is again giving us that good feel good moment to start WrestleMania. I think my only knock on it is the ending. I mean, I get Gunther tapping out. It just seemed like it was, I guess the way it was shot was a little bit different because I was literally looking at, I felt like it was quick. I felt like it didn't look like it was that tight of a chokehold at that point. That I felt like it was just like, oh, it's over. I was just kind of surprised that like it just didn't look like it didn't feel like the submission itself didn't really get to that final gear where I'm like, oh, Gunther's in trouble. I was like, oh, Jay's got him locked in with one of his moves. Oh, he's tapped. But to be fair, I think someone on the internet pointed out that Gunther's always never been really good with submissions, anyways. Like that's kind of been his one weakness. Like that when he loses
Really?
a match, because he's only lost 6 matches on the WWE, but a lot of them have been, half of them have been due to submissions, and they've been like locked in, tap. Like he doesn't last very long in a submission. So I guess that's some
Ah,
Gunther lore I missed, but overall, I felt like the match was fine, but the ending fell a little flat for me. I would have probably just liked a good old, really nice Uso splash from the top, and I feel like that would have been a good enough for me to probably rate it just a little bit higher. I'm being nitpicky, but I still enjoyed the match very much.
cool, cool. Well, I think the thing is, you almost have to nitpick this because you're right. It was probably Jey Uso's best singles match that we've seen of him so far.
Mhm.
I feel this was the match that he needed to perform in well, and he did.
Yeah.
Um, I think both the competitors looked strong throughout the match.
Mhm.
I think both of them had their moments to shine.
Mhm.
The while obviously Uso ended up winning, Gunther did have times where he looked like he was in control of the match
Yeah.
and what have you. So it wasn't like it was painting him poorly. Um, I think if we're going to nitpick here, my issues are that as an opening match, it was
Mhm.
quite slow paced, which
Yes,
I
I
get
agree.
is maybe leaning towards Gunther's style a
Yeah.
little more, but it was almost like it was Jay that was keeping the pace of the match slow. So it was
Mhm.
a little, I don't know, a little disorientating to watch.
Yeah.
And so that's was difficult for me. And I have to call out that I don't like Jay's spears.
Oh,
Okay,
spear. Oh, okay. Spear is god awful. It's not a spear. It's a shoulder tackle.
right. This is it. He goes so high on it, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't look like it would have the same kind of impact as what
Yeah.
you get as some of the great. I'm not even talking about Reigns, who obviously he's a wrecking ball that's hitting someone,
Yeah.
right?
I
But
think
if you
Charlotte's
compare
spear is
his
better than his.
yeah, this is it, right? And so he hit a number of them throughout the match, and each time I
Yeah.
was just like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
but in contrast to what you said, I actually found the ending to be really good and really
Okay.
hyped up. Now, you mentioned that you would prefer a good old fashioned Uso splash, and you felt the
Mhm.
tap came out of nowhere. Now, I felt the same thing watching the match the first time too. The
Okay.
second watch through, right? That tap was, or chokehold, whatever you want to say, that tap was led by two super kicks, followed
Mhm.
by three splashes, one from like different corners of the rings. And then after hitting all five of those moves in a row, then he goes for a chokehold, right?
Mhm.
And I felt like the choke came out of nowhere as well, which is weird that we both felt it. But realistically, Gunther's just been hit with an absolute barrage of Usos, big
Mhm.
hitters.
Yeah.
So it did make sense when you see him tapping out. He's bleeding from the mouth at the time, and it
Mhm.
was just like it looked legit. It really
Yeah.
did. And so while you can nitpick things about it, I thought overall good way to start. I like what it's going to do for both of them. I think this is
Yeah.
going to allow Gunther to become a truly deranged heel, which
Yeah.
if you saw on Raw, that's some weird shit he's doing by attacking the announcers. But hey, I'm kind of here for it. I think it uh,
Mhm.
moves his character forward, and I think that Jay desperately needed this gold
Yeah.
to look like a proper singles competitor, especially if you're going to have a title like main event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you saw it a second time, and that's what I forgot that he did hit all that. I think just for me, I just don't like it when I see someone like Gunther tap out. You know what I
I
mean?
get
Like
that. I do.
it,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just because me myself, I'm not the biggest Jay Uso fan, so I feel like
Mhm.
giving Jay Uso a a tap out a submission victory over Gunther, just like I would never ever see that like ever happening. Like if you didn't know anything about the match at all and you saw Jay and like you knew that Jay Uso never was like in a tap out victory. Like you look at the card, like we're looking back at it like 10 years down the line, and we're looking at all these matches, and we see Gunther submission loss to Jey Uso. We're like, what? When did that happen? And then because
Yeah. Yeah.
it
I
doesn't
get
feel
you.
like a Jey Uso thing. But overall, like you said, yeah, I think it leads to bigger things for both characters. I think Gunther is going to go on this kind of unhinged heel run, which I'm all here for.
Mhm.
And then Jey Uso's got the gold, and I'm kind of excited for him. He's got the gold now. Before we move on to the next match, I guess we can talk about a little bit like the future with Jey Uso. Do you think he has a long title run? Do you think it's going to be switched off? Um, who do you see being his first? I guess who do you see being his backlash opponent? I guess because we're
Uh,
honestly about 2 weeks away from that.
yeah. God, is it that soon?
Yeah,
Backlash, I've got no idea about. I'm going
yeah,
to be blunt with you now. Like, I saw Sammy come out to congratulate him. All I was
yeah,
thinking the whole time was like, Sammy, don't turn on him. And then
yeah,
Jimmy comes out, and I'm just like, Jimmy, please, we just want the face. Like, you three as a trio would be a great face
yeah. I'm here
combo,
for
and
it.
they
I'm here
didn't.
for it.
And
I'm
there
glad
there
that
was
they did not.
yeah, same, right? This is it. And there was so many moments where it was like teased that it was going to
Yeah,
happen as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I honestly couldn't begin to guess who it's going to
yeah,
be. Um, and so I'm interested to see where it goes. But I think in terms of does he have a long run? I think traditionally these people that are super over, you look at like when Rey Mysterio won the belt, when
yeah.
Kofi Kingston won the belt. These people,
Hmm.
which is sort of like the crowd chosen champions, I think
Yeah,
traditionally they don't hold it for
they
all that
don't.
long. It's
Mm,
almost like WWE behind the scenes wants to go, okay, sure, your fans, you can have your moments, but this is not what we actually want to do. So I suspect he won't hold it long. I would like to see him hold it for a long time, but my gut is telling me like maybe a pay-per-view or two, and then he drops it.
yeah, I'm feeling he's going to be unfortunately the recipient of a cash in by someone. I think that's going to be the
Okay,
kind of way
yeah.
that it goes. I think we'll probably get a couple match. I think the backlash. If he gets a match at Backlash, I don't know if he does because we're
I
going
don't think
back to
so.
we're getting back to a 5 match pay per view card. We've been blessed
Mhm.
with like 13 matches for WrestleMania, so we're going back to the 5 or 6 match card. I think he's unfortunately going to be a recipient to a cash in. Maybe I can see him maybe holding it to like SummerSlam at the most, but yeah, I have no idea who he's going to be facing. I feel like you can have a dual face run with Sammy and Jay. I don't. I tell you right now, I do not want Sammy turning heel. He does not need to turn heel.
Same.
I don't want
Nope.
him turning heel, especially on Jay. And so yeah, I think it could be a very interesting way, but I definitely see him possibly losing it around that SummerSlam. Maybe a good 3 to 4 month title reign, like you said. Nothing too
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
nothing too overstated. Because yeah, Jay, again, we always say faces are great. But once they get the championship, it's kind of like, all right, you did it.
Yeah, that's
Hello.
it. Like,
So much
I mean, you
you
say
hear,
SummerSlam. I could
yeah,
see Money in the Bank. Someone wins the money, the briefcase earlier in
yeah,
that night. Jay is main eventing for the belt. Someone comes down, inserts themselves into the
hmm,
match, steal it. Then that you'd like that's
yeah,
a cash in for you.
yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So going on to the next match, we have the WWE is it the WWE Tag Champions or the World? I don't know. Whichever
I
belt's
don't
on Raw.
know.
Whatever belt's on Raw. We've
One
got
of the tags.
we got the War Raiders versus the New Day. And honestly, like it was a very short tag match. There wasn't anything too notable at that match. But overall, the New Day did end up picking the win, which I believe both me and Nick did predict that they were going to pick up the
Yep.
win. Circumstances behind it did not happen. We both thought. I thought personally that we were going to see a Big E like semi-return or show up on the show. That didn't happen. The New Day just flat out cheated and won. I will say I think my favorite part of the match is when I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Ivar did a moonsault. That was pretty sick. I was like, oh, I did not know he could move like that. That was pretty sick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. But besides that, overall, it was just your standard run-of-the-mill tag team match. I didn't hate the match, but it definitely was a match where I watched the match on SmackDown, the tag match, and man, oh man, they should have just put that one on the card and said, "Sorry, New Day, you're just gonna have to win it on Raw." Like, and then just
sure.
it doesn't lead, and like, and you're speaking after Raw, after Mania, it didn't really lead to anything either, right? Like, it literally was like this was the New Day came out, and then a returning Rusev came out, which was cool, but it's like, is Rusev going to be in a tag scene? I doubt it,
Exactly.
So it didn't really lead to anything new with the New Day. So overall, it's just like cool. I'm glad the New Day won it. I think it does solidify the fact that the New Day are the best tag team ever. Like, it just, you just kind of have to. I feel like it's in that category now where it's kind of like they are one, if you're not going to say the top, but they're definitely like top three. The amount of championships they won, the overall stable, the longevity of the tag team. The fact they've been tag team for damn near a decade at this point. I think it does solidify that they're great. And I guess giving them this heel run as a tag team, I think it can, if they can fix the heel run, they really go back to being like truly diabolical heels, I think we can really start putting them in that conversation. But right now it's just like it was just there. I wish we got the TLC match instead. I was like, they needed it. I thought if you were going to put the New Day in a match, there had to be a reason behind it, and it was just like nothing really happened. They just won, so it's just like, yeah. I just feel about it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think this might be the match that I'm lowest on the card of like the whole 2 nights.
Okay.
Fair. Very briefly, and I want to touch on this because I'm going to return to this point a few times. First and foremost, the fact that the is it Warriors or War
Raiders?
They came War Raiders. Thank you.
The outfits, yes. I don't want to talk about that.
They came out dressed in some Clash of Clans, absolute plastic-looking bullcrap. And it's like clearly because there's an advertising promo, and sure, it makes sense with them being good portrayals for it, but it just looked bad. And I want to touch on it because I'm going to refer to the costumes a number of times. Okay, right. So just remember, this is number 1 for bad costumes. But once you get past that, I think that the pair of them looked pretty good. I think it was a great showcase for them. I don't think they've had much time to shine on a spotlight so big before now. And like the match did good work for them as a tag pairing. On the flip side, I felt the New Day just offered absolutely nothing new to the table. It was the same old shtick from them in terms of their repertoire of moves and what have you. I also felt that while they were being hit by these big, heavy-hitting moves, like you talk about, what was it? Ivar hitting the moonsault. Eric was doing some massive power bombs and slams and stuff like that, and that while they were selling the moves, I felt they weren't selling the fatigue, they weren't selling the wear and tear that this sort of thing should be putting on them, and it didn't feel natural. And overall, I couldn't get into the match. Partially as a result of this. I think the finish was fine. It was like a clean, dirty finish, if you like. But as a result of that, it didn't feel spectacular. I like it worked as a heel storytelling device. But it was, it was whatever. And I at no point got really excited during the match. I think this was the perfect, if you're going to have this match, perfect place to put it, because you get it out of the way. Like, it's not the opener, but it's done, it's dusted, it's in the history books. Let's move on. And that's all I can say. Let's swiftly move on from this.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next match, which is Naomi versus Jade Cargill. A match that I was personally excited to see.
Mhm.
And honestly, up to that point, in my opinion, it was pretty good. Like on the match card, like I honestly, I guess sitting back watching it live, I was like, actually, I think this might. Me personally, just watching like the action between it is like this might be a little bit better in ring action than Jay and Gunther right now. I was kind of like really like enjoying the match itself. I love seeing Naomi get her moment. This is the first
Yeah.
women's match that's on Mania that does not have a title on. This is the first storyline women's match that we're seeing, which for me is really exciting because it's just like, all right, cool, we're giving the women spots. They're not just okay, you have the title, all right, let's put you in here.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, we didn't get the US title on the card, which is a whole nother thing that we talked about in length
Oh,
beforehand.
yeah, yeah. We went into it before. We ranted on
um,
the
but the
previous one.
fact that if they were going to leave one of the cards off, and they said, we're only going to put 4 women's matches on the card. I'm glad this was one of the ones that got on there.
Sure.
I just thought overall the action was really good. Some of the action in the ring was pretty crazy. There was one spot where Naomi did a face buster to Jade on the outside, which made me flinch. I was like, oh my gosh, that was pretty crazy. Like Jade, honestly, she's the total package, man. She looks like a fucking superhero, dude. Like it's insane the way this woman looks. Like she looks absolutely amazing. Just overall, just as like this is like you can literally see like this is gonna be the future. Like you can just tell by the way
Mm.
she's presented that she is going to be ultimately the future. And her in-ring work, which was one of those things where a lot of people had some question marks. I will say I haven't watched a whole lot of Jade Cargill matches before she got to the WWE, but every match that I've seen of her, she's gotten better and better and better and better. And then for Naomi, she played the heel really well. My only knock on this match was again, I'm a big finish stickler. Like it just there was a weird awkward moment right at the end where she turned one move into something else. She smacked her down, and I thought, okay, and she went for the pin, and she didn't pin, and then she picked her up and hit her finisher, and then pinned. I'm like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a miss,
I
yeah,
got that. I wasn't sure if like it was meant to be happening or
yeah.
not, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It was like, here is big move going for pin. Cool, we're done. Wait a second. How about a finisher on top of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if she'd have gone straight, if she'd have picked her straight back up and gone
I
for the
went to the
finisher,
finisher, yeah.
fine, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. But it was almost like she forgot to
She
do it.
forgot or she lost momentum and said, "Oh God, I got to go for a pin because I messed up or something like that." It was a really
Yeah,
awkward. It was just extremely awkward. So I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna pin it," because again, to me, that would have been like the perfect move right there, where the finisher, definitely messed. Like that could have been a finish to a match for me because I thought it was a sick move. Um, yeah, and she rolled over, and then picked her up and hit her move, which again, move looked great, but it's just
yeah,
again, it's, I'm a big stickler for a match. Like the finish has to be like perfect, and like on Mania, you can't have a mess up like that. But
yeah.
overall, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was at that point I mean, we only had 3 matches. The second best match of the night because again, you can't have a rough finish like that and me be like, oh, it's better than Jay and Gunther. I'm just sound like a hater at that point. But I thought the action was good. I'm excited for what this leads to for both women. I can definitely see Naomi going on a heel run, going after the main card title or a mid card title at this point. So I'm excited for Naomi. I hope she keeps this heel gimmick. I hope they don't continue. I hope they don't let her just stack up losses. I hope they build her up, and then I'm excited
Agreed.
to see what Jade happens with her as well. I don't know if I want to see her right in the main title scene as well, but um, at some point down the line, she's going to be going after a main title soon. She just has that aura about her.
Yeah, I get everything you're saying, and technically I can't really argue with much of it. I would say that the beginning portion of the match, like not the
Mhm,
first half, but maybe like the first quarter, something like that.
mhm,
Um, it didn't give me WrestleMania vibes. It felt like it was it could have been any match on, SmackDown or Raw or what have you. It was quite slow building. That said, it wasn't like it was bad.
No.
It was just it didn't have the right energy in the beginning. Now, as the match goes on, it did like pick up the pace. It felt like there was they were feeding off each other quite well. They were hitting these bigger moves, and so by at least halfway, if not before, through the match, I was like, okay, cool. I'm enjoying this now. This is good. This is something that I'm appreciating watching on at this a stage of this size. I think nitpicking. There was, I mean, I think we're both going to say the word nitpicking a lot during this because you kind of have to when you're breaking these things down. Because to be fair, a lot of it was very good. But nitpicking, you mentioned Jade's finisher. There were a couple of times in the match where Jade was, I think, out of positioning. On my notes, I've got it written down as sloppy positioning. It's almost like there was clearly a spot or something that was prepared, and she realized she wasn't in the right position, and it was almost noticeable that she had to get somewhere or what have you, or her timing was off to get in a certain place. There was one point that Naomi was going to hit us up from the top rope on something, and Jade was like, she was clearly meant to be like quite close to her. I don't remember exactly what the move was, but you see Jade standing up, supposed to be looking kind of dizzy, and then she like noticed what was going on, realized she was too far away, moves forward so that she's very clearly like walking towards her, and then sort of almost looks up at her, and you can clearly see her almost like waiting for the move to hit, and it's like it just looks so unnatural. And yeah, there were a couple of moments like that. That was just the one that like stood out to me. And I felt like overall, Naomi came off as the tighter wrestler.
Of course.
Jade came off as stronger, and that's the point. Obviously, she was meant to win. It's all about pushing her as the new star and what have you. And I get that, and that's great. But I think Naomi came off as looking tighter, cleaner. I couldn't nitpick anything about Naomi. I thought her performance was brilliant.
Not at all.
The only other thing that I'm going to pick out here is that once again, I'm talking about the costumes. Right, time number 2, I'm talking about it. Not only did you have a piece of Jade's come off, which is like, it happens, fine, but there's also so many times where both women had to, and I don't want to be crude when I'm saying this, essentially reposition themselves, like, pulling their top up because it felt like they were, maybe going to spill out or what have you. And it was taking me out of the moment. I couldn't help but notice it. And I just feel like whoever's in charge of the costumes for this, like, they either hadn't spoken to the women or worked close enough with them. They hadn't thought about how things were going to happen in motion. They both looked great. Okay, I'm not questioning how the appearance in this instance, but the practicality of them just didn't seem to be quite there, and that was sort of shifting for me. Again, it's not like it's a big issue in like the real world of watching the match. However, when you're on a stage of this size, perfection is the only thing you can accept.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree. Like, that was one thing that I noticed a lot too, and I was just thankful that, I mean, I'd much rather have them readjust themselves than something like that
100%.
happen. Than something like that happen on the WrestleMania stage. Like, God bless, like the most people in the world are watching you, and I felt for Jade specifically because you can clearly tell she was fighting with her top the entire match. And a lot of her moves are like up and down, and like it's kind of like, like, if she's not on P, that's just gonna fall out for the entire world to see. So, like you said, the designers definitely have to be perfection on this, because God bless, like, if that were to happen, I would feel so terrible for Jade or any wrester in that matter, male or female, and any wrestler in that faction. Like, it's just like unfortunate, but I get it. But yeah, that's definitely WWE costume design. People, please be a little bit on. Make sure everything fits properly. Make them test out some moves in it first before they go out there. Okay. All right, going on to the next match. This up to this point, this Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. This was a match where leading up to it, I was like, okay, I was like indifferent about it. I was like, all right, I'm like glad Jacob's getting a match. I mean, I do personally like LA Knight. So I'm kind of excited. I did not know what kind of match we would get, but man, oh man, this, in my opinion, next to the last match on the card on this night was the best match, like hands down.
100%. Yeah.
Like a
Completely
Jacob
agree with you.
Fatu and LA Knight had an amazing, amazing match. The near falls, man, were like every single time. Like they, I took me back to the good old NXT Black and Gold days where it was like, yes, near fall, near after near fall, but they like the 2.5 kick out. Like that's a masterclass that not too many people get, and they were on top of it. I loved how everyone was behind both LA Knight and Jacob. Like it was like they had the split crowd chance. So I'm like, yeah, because they're both showing out. Because the one thing I will say that most people give LA Knight a hard time is to say, oh, he can't wrestle. He's not a great wrestler. And I think this match, tonight, really proved that he can go in the ring with the right opponent. And he was in his bag, And then he did that BFT counter finisher.
I got
count
that noted down. Yeah,
like
moonsault culted by the BFT.
It was amazing. Wow. I didn't even think that he could actually like. I never would have thought that move could be done that way, hitting his BFT like on a spinning moonsault. It's like could never think of. I was like, oh my god, he hit his finish. I didn't even think you could hit it in that like position. So such a weird like concept that I would never think would work, and it worked to perfection. And then the only nitpick I have for this match is where that finish happens. They zoom in so much on Jacob's face, and you can see Jacob looking at the rope, and he's like right at 2, and I'm like, that took me out of it for just a second. That was my only nitpick of the match, because I'm like, damn, just don't show Jacob's face. Just cut a little bit, like have a good angle of it, like have the side angle where they're laying flat and you can see he's pinning. Like don't hit his face, because I mean Jacob's still not new to the business, but new to WWE. Like experienced wrestler would be laying on his back and be able to count and go boop, but he just didn't want to mess up the spot, which is why I understand why he looked at the rope, But that being said, still a great match overall. Like, and then Jacob wins, and I couldn't be happier for Jacob. I think Jacob deserved it. Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna have a really cool title run with the US title. And I honestly couldn't be happier for it. And it looks like he's up to big things, because what they hinted at Backlash is they're about to have a 4-way for the U.S. title match at Backlash. Ooh. And it's going to be Jacob, Drew, LA Knight, and someone else. I can't remember who the other person is off the top of it, but I know it's going to be Jacob, Drew, and LA Knight, and maybe Solo. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But I know those 3 men will be involved, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. That I'll be honest, I didn't realize that's what they were hinting at. Maybe I missed it. If it was on SmackDown, I haven't seen SmackDown. If it was on Raw, I think I missed it. Drew going for the US upsets me a little, because I think he should be pushed onto bigger things. In fact, he would have been somebody that I'd have loved to have seen versus Jay. Although maybe you save it for when you are going to take it off Jay. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the match. And frankly, I don't have much to say. You found that nitpick. When you say it, I agree with you. However, at the time, I didn't really clock it as much. If anything, I feel like the fact that maybe he was looking towards it just made the timing of it absolute perfection. Because it was like, because it's not the same as just lifting your shoulder up. There is some reach. There is distance your arm has to travel, and he got there like bang on the buzzer, like just before that third hit was about to hit. So sure, we might have been looking at it, but the timing was worth it. But yeah, otherwise, I literally have nothing to add from what you said. Great flow, pacing, big moves the whole way through. Ring positioning from both of them was spot on. I never saw a single one of them out of place or looking like they were awkwardly trying to shift into position. You know, the opposite of what I was saying from Jade. So love that. The finish, great. The double moonsault and what have you. I felt that was really good way to rocket Fatu's career and what have you. Like nice spotlight on him. Yeah, both men looking phenomenal the whole way through. I will point out, what the fuck was that werewolf mask? Once again, number 3, like when he entered got number 3 times I'm mentioning the costumes, and I'm sorry, I don't want to care about it that much, but it looked cheap, it looked tacky. That's all I'm saying. We'll move on. Overall, great match. I have it written down here as A+. So yeah.
Fair enough. I was going to say the werewolf match definitely wasn't the best, but I will say I did see that the mask was created by the guy who did the Fiend mask, which was like kind of cool. But like overall, I'm like, was it a tribute by having it? Yeah, I was like,
maybe it's lost on me then. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Like I get the way. I think they were like, all right, we need something special for your mask, for your entrance, and they were like, werewolf, give him a werewolf mask, and Jake was like,
I'd have been fine with a werewolf mask, just not the way that it looked.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then moving, and so I feel like this is a good point to mention that we did do predictions for this video up to this point, and up to this point, me and Nick were our 4-0 in the predictions for night 1. We haven't missed a single one. We're on the same page. Yeah. Yep. So going into this next match, we had a little bit of a change. Originally, it was going to be El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio. Rey, unfortunately, did get hurt on the SmackDown right before that, which, I mean, poor Rey. You know, I feel bad for Rey. But in the grand scheme of things, we did get a replacement, that being Rey Fenix on debut, having his WrestleMania debut against El Grande Americano. And honestly, I was all here for it. The match itself, I thoroughly actually enjoyed the match a lot. Like, it was fast paced, it was good action. You know, Rey looked amazing. They did a really great sell of El Grande Americano cheating with that metal plate in his face. With that kick, because I mean, that you saw him do that kick, and I literally thought he broke his fucking ankle.
Yeah, like, the kick was so well like sold as well. Yeah. And for half a second you're like, what's going on? Then you're like, oh my god, the metal plate. And you realize it, and I think you're intended to realize it just before the commentators do as well. Yeah. So it makes you as the audience member feel like you're just that little bit smarter and stuff like and I really appreciated it. The metal plate, I think it's a gimmick that's going to get old fast if they keep reusing it. Yeah. However, they've only done it once before, I think, if I remember rightly, on the SmackDown and Raws, and so it worked here. It's fine. Don't have a problem with it. Yeah. It was great storytelling device, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great storytelling. It did really, really well. Unfortunately, this is our first not good prediction of the night. El Grande Americano does end up picking the win. And at first, thinking back on it, I was a little disappointed that he won. Because I'm like, all right, you just roll out Rey Fenix, he loses. But then I'm like, you know what? Like, if this was the plan all along, which is, I think it was. I think this was the plan. I think El Grande Americano was going to beat Rey Mysterio no matter what at this point. And so for me, I'm like, okay, am I upset that Rey got rolled to WrestleMania to lose? I'm like, absolutely not, actually. Because at first, I was a little bit like, I don't want a guy who's just got all this like great moments coming out on 2 weeks. We just signed this guy, and he's losing to a gimmicky American trying to be a Mexican. I'm like, it's like, how does that look? And then I'm actually sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, actually, you know what? It was a great showcase for Rey Fenix. Like, I haven't seen too many. I've never watched AEW a day in my life. I never really watched a single Rey Fenix match before, you know, the ones that we saw. And the entire time, every time I saw one of these former AEW people come out at WrestleMania, I'm like, I literally just said, eat your heart out, AEW. Because this is like, obviously, whatever you did to get these people to come over here Even though you guys apparently have so much more money than the WWE just to hand out because you guys are just can sign wrestlers to wherever you want. But I'm like, they showcased Ray Phoenix so well on the biggest stage and around 60,000 people watching, and they did such a great thing for him. I'm excited for Ray Phoenix. I think him as a singles guy is going to be really great. Obviously, we all love Penta. I love Penta to death as well. But to me, what it leads to is how long are we going to keep this gimmick going with Chad Gable? And for me,
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, for me, there apparently is going to be a Worlds Collide pay-per-view between WWE, NXT, and the newly required AAA Luchador like wrestling program. And I think that's where we see it. And at that point, now to me, seeing that, I was like, that makes what much better of a better payoff for that moment to have that unmasking happen there and a prominently luchador wrestling promotion moments. Like that's where that moment needs to happen for a feel good moment. And so for me, I'm like, all right, if that's how we get there, I'm okay with the result of the match. Because beforehand, if they did not announce that like happening, I would not have been happy. I'm like, guys, just get it over with. We all know it's Chad Gable. Reveal the moment. Have the new guy reveal it. It'd be really cool for him, a good moment for him. And they didn't do that. And then I remember I was like, oh, they forgot they have this pay-per-view coming up in like June. And that's where they're going to do it. And I think that's a much better payoff than having it happen at WrestleMania. But
I
once again, this match,
I
was going to say before you go, Nick, once again, this is one of those matches where me personally didn't need to be on the card. Could have put a women's. You could have put a women's match on that one. You could have put the U.S. title on that and that slot.
Fair enough. I think so. They announced the acquisition of. I don't know the name of the company, but the Lucha Libre. AAA. Cool. They announced the acquisition of AAA on WrestleMania, or at least publicly. It might have come out of somewhere else.
It was announced on their pre-show during WrestleMania.
Right, fair enough. But I think that if we had known that, there is a good chance that we may have had our prediction go the other way, because obviously there's then more to it. And I think if we had known that, because both of us said in the predictions, what the fuck is this match doing on the card? But it makes sense. What you're doing is you're telling a story about the Lucha Libre industry and style of wrestling. And frankly, I feel like choosing Chad Gable to be this, heel fake lucha persona is a great choice, because good God, he pulls off the style, right? For saying obviously this is not his natural style. He's got a lot of his own moves and whatnot in there, but he's in the flair he's added to his moves since he's put this mask on. I think is absolutely brilliant, and I'm kind of here for it. Like you say, it didn't need to be on the card. Frankly, I think there are maybe a couple of other matches, probably the tags, that didn't need to be on the match more so. Sorry, don't be on the card more so. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. And Rey Mysterio versus El Grande, I didn't care about. When it got switched to Rey Fenix, I was like, yes, great. Like, this is the match that I can get behind. And it didn't disappoint. From the very start, the pacing was absolutely at a blistering speed. Like, there was no pause for breath. There was no drop in content. It was just bam, 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 move. I loved it. Right. I think it was a fantastic showcase for Phoenix, exactly what you said. And frankly, obviously I don't want Mysterio to have been hurt, but I'm kind of glad he was, purely so we got this match instead of the Rey Mysterio versus El Grande match, because I think that would not have been anywhere near as good as this one. I will say the The commentary was pissing me off. Okay. They spent 50% of the time, at least, talking about whether or not this is Chad Gable. First of all, we know it is, right? Don't treat us, the audience, as idiots. Second of all, even if it isn't, I don't care. I want to enjoy the match. And it was distracting, is the short version of it. Again, this might be me touching on something which isn't the actual wrestling, but I think if we're doing a review of WrestleMania as a whole, we have to look at these parts of it that isn't, it's not just two men in a ring or two women in a ring that is making up what's going on. There's all sorts of it that are a part of it. This is why, I am mentioning the costumes, why I am mentioning the commentary, but I like by halfway through, all I was thinking was just shut the fuck up. I don't care. Right. But that, the commentators aside, the wrestlers performed absolutely beautifully. I felt like the wrestlers put on an absolutely brilliant show. I enjoyed every second of it. And I do want to call out one particular spot, which was that what I think, if we're counting it right, a 540 backflip. That was crazy. Like they showed the replay of it and you're just counting how many it's like, what the hell was that? It wasn't from anything bigger, higher than the top rope. And I haven't seen that many spins in a flip from there. Like phenomenal. So I think while you say it didn't need to be on the card, I'm probably a lot higher on this match than you are. Great. The ending was maybe a little unsatisfying because just the headbutt catching them midair I felt was like it wasn't as high flying as everything else, but the rest of it, brilliant spotlight for the Luchas.
Yeah, no, again, they were in their bag. Again, the match was great. I enjoyed the match a lot. I'm just not the biggest fan of this gimmick. Like I'm just not. So every time I see it, I'm just like, oh my god, all right, here. Because again, when you talk about the commentary, like you said, it's just like we get it, guys, we get it. Give us the payoff, all right. Like that's all I care about. Like give us the payoff, and that's all I care about that match. But yeah, match overall, enjoyed it, and I believe the correct term for that move was a reverse 540, because a traditional 540 you land on your stomach, the reverse you land on your back. I think that's what
I definitely haven't seen it done backwards.
Yeah, I've never seen it done before either, but I was just like, that was sick. I was like, did he mess up? I was like, uh-oh. I was like, at first I was like, was he supposed to go for a 720 there and he just missed? He forgot to rotate another full way, but no, it was a great match. Okay, and then moving on.
Right, Tiffany versus Charlotte. Can I please go first? Because God, I want to moan. I want to moan.
Go ahead.
Okay, and it's not even that the match was bad. You might want to moan as well, and maybe I'm sorry if I'm jumping in there first, but this match irritated me. So it started off fine. I love the laughter that I'm seeing on your face right now. Right. So the match started off fine, in my opinion. It was, no issues. Tiff had some great aggression in the beginning. Then Charlotte able to demonstrate, veteran level talent, taking over the match and what have you. And after the first few minutes, it then immediately starts to go downhill. This isn't even nitpicking. I think the big issue I have with all of this is that Tiffany is supposed to be the big bad champion. This is the belt that the women should be going for, right? I think there's two women's belts. They're both being portrayed as being relatively equal value. That's fine. But the point is, Tiff should be at the top of the industry if she is carrying that belt. And she looked sloppy, right? This is the thing. She does not look like a champion level wrestler at this point in her career. She's still new. I get that we need to give her some time to grow and what have you, but the issue is that by putting her against Charlotte, which, like, what you're trying to do is put her over by having her beat the veteran, the passing of the torch moment, whatever, blah blah blah, bullshit. all it did to me was highlight that Charlotte is still miles ahead of Tiffany in terms of in-ring talent, right? If this had been any other match, if this had not been for the title, if this had been other wrestlers, I'd have been fine with it. I think it would have been a pretty damn good match, to be honest with you. But the fact that Tiffany is supposed to be as good as she is at the top of the industry, no, I call bullshit on that. And I know I'm swearing a few times here, so my apologies. But there were sloppy positioning and moves from Tiff's part. The impact seemed lost. I'm sorry if I'm looking down, but I'm reading from my notes because I've got a lot written about this. A good few of her moves looked like they were almost reminiscent of the old Diva days, and so almost like trying to look pretty rather than trying to look like they hurt. And I want to see some people hurt, right? There were flips for no reason, which is like great, but sure, you're a acrobat or whatever. I don't care. And even the commentators called this out. Tiff is younger than Charlotte, but as the match went on, she looked tireder. She didn't look like she was in as good form as Charlotte. There was this weird spot in the corner where I don't know what was meant to happen, but it just ended up with Charlotte having to roll backwards over a bent over Tiffany, and I don't know who was supposed to be coming out on top of that. It looked like Tiff was probably spotted to do something, and Charlotte just almost had to do something to keep the flow of the match going. I don't know. Yeah, Tiff just did not look like the champion she is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lacking of ring chemistry between them, and then the finish. So for like the at least the last third of the match, Charlotte has basically been in control, right? Charlotte has been the one that's been laying the hurt on Tiff, and then the finish is just like out of nowhere. Tiff hits Charlotte, and sure, she might be tired at this point in the match, and there's been some moves that have hit her, but it was just like Tiff wins out of nowhere. It was just so unrealistic. The whole match, all it did for me was highlight that Tiffany is not ready to be holding this belt, and Charlotte is 10 times better than her. And like, frankly, yeah, that's all I've got, right? It's a rant. I don't care. I got the prediction right that they weren't going to do Charlotte down. This was the first one of the predictions where we split on the decision, where I said that they were going to put Charlotte over. And lo and behold, they did. And by God, it looked like they were trying to put her over.
Yeah.
So, Luke, what's your feelings on the matter?
I hated this match.
Good.
Yeah. I see. The thing is, like, for me, it wasn't even like just right out the bat, like within the first 5 minutes of the match, I just could tell that they don't have chemistry at all. Like, I just could within it all. Like, it was just like, I feel like, and I don't know if it has had anything to do with maybe some personal animosity, which I don't think really had to play in it. But there was a lot of moves where I felt like you mentioned, like, a lot of Tiffany's move didn't feel have impact, right? But for me, when it comes to moves that need impact, it's also on the person taking the move to make it look like it had impact. And I feel like a lot of times Charlotte did not sell a lot of Tiffany's offense, right? Now, I'm not defending Tiffany. Tiffany definitely was sloppy. She still needs a lot more work in the ring as well. But it takes two to tango, right? And I don't think.
Yeah.
And again,
Okay.
I don't want to. And I don't want to say like Charlotte by any means is trying to make Tiffany look bad, right? But again, when you mention moves that needed to have impact, I've seen Tiffany hit those moves before, and they've had impact. Charlotte did not sell it with the impact for whatever reason. And yeah, the entire match, like, I just felt like, okay, we're getting. And the thing is, like, I felt like we were getting somewhere. We're about, like, when the finish happened, I thought we were about to be at 2/3 of the match. I thought this was where the move where we're going to see the move. Charlotte's going to kick out, and we're going to get to that moment in Charlotte matches where it's like Charlotte starts hitting them with the finishers. She starts crying because she's getting pissed off because she's not winning. We get a couple more back and forth. Charlotte kicks out, and then some super move takes out Charlotte. I thought that's where, because that's kind of the Charlotte match, WrestleMania match formula. You have a good match. 2/3 of the way through, Charlotte starts getting frustrated because she can't put them away. Starts hitting her with all this really good offense. The opponent comes in, starts hitting them with their offense. It's kind of a back and forth. Big move takes Charlotte out. Thought we were going to get there. We never got there. Felt like the match was cut, hit the move, get us out of here. And yeah, I think it just highlights once again, like you mentioned before, Tiffany has been doing this for 4 years, right? And she is the WWE Women's Champion, right? Now, I get why they would put the belt on her because she's got the look. I'll give her that. She's got the look. She looks like $1,000,000, right? And when she goes when she is good in the ring, when she doesn't make any mistakes, she looks great, right? But she makes too many mistakes here and there to be consistent, specifically on the biggest stage. Even on SmackDown, there's a clip of her trying to hit her move and she messed up and she had to hit it again. I'm like, can't be doing that. You got to hit your finisher. And if that's the case, then you got to switch your finisher up and then only pull that one out for big moments then, because that can't be your standard finisher if you can't hit it normally every single time. Because to be fair, it is a difficult finisher. It's a jump flip. So much can go wrong on that and as well. But that's a special move for me, and I feel like she hits it so inconsistently that she'll slip off the ropes. It's like, hey, give her another finisher and let her pull that out, kind of like a super RKO kind of thing. Like, only pull it out when you need to pull it out, right? But yeah, I personally, by the end of it, I was glad that Tiffany ended up winning that match because I was like, okay, cool. She's gonna have the belt. She'll drop it. But it just leaves me a question of where Charlotte goes from here. Like, what is she doing? Like, that's my big thing. Is she gonna get into a singles feud with someone else? Is she going back for the title? Are they gonna throw her in the tag scene at some point? Maybe, I don't know. Right? Like, that's my biggest question mark because she's back, she's healthy. Yes, she can kind of be part timer, but when she's here, and she's here full time. She was there a majority of the time. Before she tore her knee out of place, God bless. That was an awful injury I saw. When that happened, but she's here full time. My question is, what do we do with Charlotte from there? Which is why I said give her the belt. Let her go on a run with the belt. Let her hold it for a little bit. Give her like that accolade of she's catching up to her father kind of thing to keep her around and again feed in younger talent coming in there. Giving us that dream match of maybe a Jade Cargill versus a Charlotte Flair kind of dream match. People they teased way back when. This match, honestly, it fell flat for me. I felt like it really just boiled down to the fact it had no chemistry. It was by far Charlotte's worst match in WrestleMania history. Unfortunately, love Charlotte to death. I think she has amazing matches, but it was the worst one. And I had a feeling it was because I told you, I think I said in the match, I don't think this is going to be a great match. And it wasn't. And it had a lot to do with the fact that Tiffany was not as sharp in the ring. And I felt like even on the mic, they had no chemistry. I was like, God, I hope they have chemistry in the ring. And they just didn't. The match overall fell flat. And it left me with more questions about what they're going to do with this belt. So hopefully they answer those questions. But I think it's time to pull the belt off of Tiffany. Not because she can't, not because she needs to go back to the lab, but I just don't see a good opponent for her to lose that belt other than Naomi. That's if my dream moment is for her to lose that belt to Naomi. The only heel I can think of off the top of my head. Because there isn't another heel on SmackDown that can take the belt from her besides Nia Jax, and no one wants that.
You know what? I could see this being one of the matches they do at Backlash. They give Charlotte the win like she should have had all along. And then Charlotte's done the putting over of Tiffany. But it's a natural match for them to have. So Tiffany's had the win. She hasn't lost the momentum that they've been trying to build there for her. She doesn't look weak because she's already beaten Charlotte in a bigger stadium. But Backlash would be the perfect time to just go, you know what? You tried, like, fair play, but it didn't work. We need to reverse this. And while I haven't seen, I purposefully haven't watched any other reviews and stuff of it. I have seen a couple of YouTube thumbnails and titles where it's literally just like, this was a bad match. I don't think that I haven't watched them because I'm not trying to, you know, corrupt my opinions on
Yeah.
going into this review that we're doing. But I've seen these, and I think that you and I are not alone in saying that this wasn't the match that it could have been or should have been. I say could have
Should have
been. I
been.
don't know whether it could have
It
been
should have
great,
been
but
so much better. It should have
yeah,
been.
they need to switch gears, and personally I'd like to see them actually give Charlotte the belt. Do it at Backlash. It will feel natural, and yeah, like everybody then is in a good position.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the main event of night one. Before we, yeah, it was a great match. Yeah, it was an amazing match. Amazing match. Yeah, 5-star match.
I'm jumping the gun. 5 stars.
It was amazing. It was an amazing match and amazing moments. And honestly, it started in the entrances. Specifically, I sent the video to you, Nick. The little like promo hype moment for CM Punk's entrance.
Yeah.
And I will not lie to you. I started shedding. I did shed a couple manly tears.
Oh,
Because it got to me, man. It got to me because I'm like, for me, and I'm gonna go on a little soapbox before we get in the match. And I'm just gonna say because the finish of the match doesn't need the finish of this match doesn't need this moment. What I'm about to say. But CM Punk like is my favorite wrestler of all time. Like he is. I love Jeff Hardy, but it's always been CM Punk and then Jeff Hardy, which is again that dynamic, which is really weird. But I love CM Punk, and it really goes back to the days of me being a young kid. My father was a major alcoholic. My mom would occasionally do recreational drugs. And seeing CM Punk come in and saying, I'm straight edge. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. My addiction is pro wrestling. I thought that was so cool just as a young kid. Like I was like 12 or 13. Not even, I was like 11 or 12 at that time. And it literally, I will be honest with you, it really affected me in my young years because I did not drink and did not do drugs and did not smoke until I went to college and drank at a college party, which again, most people always did, right?
Yeah,
but the fact
there's nothing.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like be like,
that.
oh, like I'm not saying I'm straight edge to this day, but it was one of those things for me where it was so cool to see someone like I didn't want to do that, and to see someone that was a WWE superstar saying that really meant a lot to me as a kid. So seeing that moment really got to me because I've always been in CM Punk's corner since then. And seeing that moment happen where he finally got his WrestleMania main event, I just couldn't be happier for the guy because I personally love CM Punk a lot. He is legitimately like one of my heroes in life because he's just such a cool guy. He's such against the status quo of what a WWE superstar looks like. He's got a bunch of tattoos. He's not the best looking guy.
Sorry, every WWE superstar has tattoos, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah. He's got he just doesn't look like your guy. And just seeing all the things that he's gone through and like finally coming back to the WWE and getting his moment, I was so happy for them. Just seeing him cry walking up to the thing, I'm like, fuck, man, you're getting me. You're giving me these man-grown tears, but love CM Punk to death. So happy he got a WrestleMania main event. And he fucking, this match, like you said, did not disappoint because
nope.
From start to motherfucking finish, this match was 5 stars. There is literally nothing wrong about this match at all. Like you have to like. I have one like small nitpick. I'm not even gonna mention it because I feel like it just takes away from the match. But like
Whatever it is, I would disagree with you. I don't know what it is, but I would disagree with you because it was literally perfect. Like
yeah,
I've graded all of these matches just for my own memory purposes,
mm-hmm,
right? The LA Knight Fatu match I had down as A+, and I was like, well, I
mm-hmm.
mean, it feels wrong to do that because I know the triple threat is better, but I have to give it that. I get to this, I'm just like, no, S+. It is just. This was a damn good match.
Yeah, like everything from the action to the outside with Seth and Punk to that cool spot where Reigns jumps over the barricade and runs into. And again, us being veteran wrestling watchers, like I love seeing like Roman quickly checking in on them, making sure like they didn't hurt themselves. I'm like, fucking cool moment. Like I love that little bit behind the scenes where I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing right there. Um, and then yeah, I think my favorite spot, I like again the spear into the pedigree by Rollins was really really good. That was an amazing spot. I
Yeah.
knew this, I like, and then they just worked a triple threat match the right way, right? Like there were moments like it didn't. Every pin did not need to be broken up, which is like the key to a triple threat match in my opinion, because you can always have that third person always breaking up the pin and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But it doesn't need to have that. You need to have those moments where you think they're about to win, and then the guy finally comes in, right, and knocks them out. And they hit every nook and cranny. And then by far my favorite moment in the match is where Seth is trying to get Roman to do the shield power bomb through the table. Like he's trying to get him hyped up.
It's so good.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, if this happens, I was like, if this happens, I am happy that we got to see a little reunion. It was like, but I was like, Roman, just punch him in the fucking mouth, punch him, and then he does like, yes, good job. And then again, the action from back and forth, the multiple spears to GTSs to curb stomps, like back and forth and back and forth, and the entire time during the match, yes, they cut to Paul a good like them at certain points, but it was not like the whole focus was on Paul Heyman. Like it didn't feel like that until like they would cut around like seeing like Paul's fighting the battle here, and they only cut to him like 3 or 4 times in the match where he's so heavily involved in the storyline. I thought they were gonna put more of a focus on him in general, and I'm so glad that they didn't because again, the match ring action was so amazing. It didn't need Paul to be like a central focal point of the wrestling portion of the match. But then the moment happened. He grabs a steel chair, and I'm like, and then this is the part of me where I'm like, fucking called this shit. I know exactly what's gonna happen here. And so I see him give it to Punk.
You called it.
I was like, there's no way like he's gonna low blow Punk. All right. And so like I knew that was gonna happen. And that happened. I'm like, all right, cool. I knew that was happening. Again, fuck you, Paul Heyman, for doing that to my boy, not giving him his WrestleMania win, but whatever. And he's going over to Roman. And I was like, all right. It's like I could see him realign with Roman here. I was like maybe like because at first I thought he would just go like I'm looking for where the fuck is Seth? Where is Seth? Where is Seth? Where is Seth? And I see him in the back of the ropes. I'm like, all right, we could have a moment here where he just gives Seth the chair, and I'm like, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's gonna have it. And then the moment where he's like, you got it, you got it. I'm like, Paul does not do that. That's the second I knew that he was about to get turned on. Is I knew, and he's like, you can do it right now, do it. I'm like, that's not Paul Heyman. Not when he's talking to his tribal chief like that. Like he does not ever talk to Roman like that. And then again the low blow, but it was the low blow that
the wiggle around under
the
that
wiggle, the wiggle, and then the scene where he hands Seth the chair, and then Seth wins, hits him with the chair shot. This shield chair shot, as they like to call it now, which I'm like, all right, cool. I guess it's a different kind of chair shot, but rightfully so for what it signifies in pro wrestling. To the curb stomp, to Seth winning, and in his mind again saving pro wrestling. The match itself was amazing. The swerve that happened, yes, I called it, but like it was still an amazing swerve that I feel like not a whole lot of people saw coming at that point. In the story, except where I think you mentioned it, the promo that Seth did on Friday, the right before WrestleMania, where I'm like,
Mhm.
this man's not losing this match.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I don't know how
it's
he's not losing, but I was just like, this man, like, if I didn't make that prediction already, I would have probably been like, fuck, I think he's winning this match. I don't know how he wins it. I don't think maybe this is him aligning with Paul Heyman, like this is the seed. But I'm like, Seth, and at this point, I think Seth needed the win, in my opinion. Like, he needed the win because Roman doesn't need the win.
yeah, I'll give you that.
Punk could have gotten the win and for that feel good moment of him walking out on top of WrestleMania, but the story didn't need Punk winning, right? Like Punk winning a singles match to main event WrestleMania, like if that was like if there was Seth and Punk, like just them or Seth or Punk and Roman, I could see Punk winning that match. But Seth needed this moment because in the nicest way possible, Roman is kind of in and out the door sometimes. Punk has been pretty full time for the most part since he's been back. But Seth needed this for his character because what is his character at this point? There's nothing left for
Yeah.
him to do. Like he's lost the championship, he just won this match. All it does is just makes him look weak. And then he pulls out the win. And then as we see on Raw, they basically are making an evolution 2.0 where he is partnering up with Braun fucking Breaker. Like I am
I'm here
here
for
for
it.
that. I'm here for an evolution 2.0 kind of thing that they're doing here. Like,
Oh my god, Seth
it's
even
so
has a
good.
pedigree. He's Triple H. Seth
He's
is Triple H.
Yeah, Seth is Triple H, Paul's Ric Flair. Yeah, it just leads to an amazing storyline with Seth, and he needed it. And I just could not be happier with the outcome of this match. And as I wrote my notes, I fucking called it. Go ahead, Nick.
You did call it. You did call it, Luke. Absolutely. And it is worth mentioning that I think we've said it on the last review that we did. Luke and I try to avoid talking to each other about our feelings and stuff regarding these pay-per-views until we get to this, so that our conversation is as natural with one another as it can be. The only conversation that we had was prior to, I think, night one. You messaged me saying that Mysterio's out, Rey Fenix is in. Do I want to change my prediction? And I was like, hell no. If anything, I'm doubling down on Phoenix winning. Again, I didn't know about the Lucha Libre, the AAA acquisition. But aside from that, the only other thing I said was, if anything, the only prediction I want to change is after Seth's appearance on SmackDown, I kind of feel like he might be getting the win. I think you're right in that. But at the time I made the prediction, yeah, I went Punk. I thought they were just going to pander to the audience. And I mean, to be fair, I feel like everyone was so much happier with the way this went. Look, I mean, I know you're already moving on to the storyline afterwards and whatnot, but I just want my moments to talk about what was happening in that ring, because it was just perfect from start to finish. Every single one of the wrestlers had their moment. They like it was flowing from one being into control to the next being into control to the next being into control to the next being, and it felt perfect. One thing I would say is, like, at the very start, part of the problem I think you have with triple threat matches is sometimes you have one of the people involved have to almost be like taken out of the match so that two people can have spots together, and sometimes that can feel unnatural, especially in the beginning when they shouldn't be really worn down and whatnot yet. However, it didn't with this. Like the way, like, the storytelling was beautiful. Punk, first of all, gets out of the ring, so he's out of the way, talking to Heyman, and it's like it is intended to be mocking Reigns in like, so then, wise man, what are your words of wisdom, as he puts his arm around him, or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And it was like great. And it allowed that Roman and Seth to have a little moment in the beginning, and then they get out, and but one is genuinely not, I don't even remember who it was, is like properly knocked down hard before the other two start going. And it very quickly evolved into all the wrestlers being in the right place at the right time constantly. I loved every second of it. The spots were phenomenal. I've got some written down here. Punk hits a double DDT on both Reigns and Seth at the same
yeah.
time. Yeah, that's it. Punk from the top rope taking out Seth, who's on Roman's shoulder. The counter you said, like countering the spear with the pedigree, was started by Reigns countering the pedigree by like flipping him over his back, and so Seth immediately like runs at the ropes as Reigns is turning to do the hit to the spear, and so it's just like it was one into the next. The chemistry between all three, which you would expect because they have fought a lot together by this point in time, was so on point.
Yeah.
And there were so many times where it looked like somebody was going to win. You know, I mean, and like you mentioned the Shield moment where he's like, pick him up. And then he knocks down Seth to then do the power bombs Punk through the table, and then power bombs Seth through the table as well. Like it was just so good. I'm looking here. What have I got written down? Seth suplexing Roman from a chokehold that Roman had on Seth. Yeah. Oh my God, that was it. Roman had the chokehold. He was wrapped completely around Seth, if you remember. Like he just done it to Punk. And now he's got it on Seth. Seth is able to suplex Roman Reigns, who is damn sight heavier than he is, from a standing chokehold position as he's entirely wrapped around. That was just like, I didn't see it coming. I didn't know Seth could do that sort of thing. Yeah, it was just spot after spot after spot. And then we get to the big moment at the end. You say, I called it. Me, I fell for every fucking second of it. I genuinely thought that Heyman was with Punk. I was like, this is it. This is where he's like, because I think on the SmackDown you'd finally see Reigns like push Heyman away, and I was like, this is it. This Heyman is no longer with Reigns. He's made his choice. And then it's the low blow, and I'm like, oh, no, he is with Reigns. And then when he's there shouting at Roman had kind of like, he'd been showing the whole way through the match, like he was a little bit confused about what he was supposed to be doing, which I felt was like selling the character up quite well, because he's just lost his wise man, right? He's not supposed to be necessarily thinking clearly. And so it's why when you have that Shield pick him up moment, that I didn't know which way it was going to go. I thought that Reigns was going to be turning on Punk and almost siding with Rollins. And so I thought that actually Heyman cheering him on was genuinely him cheering him on. Oh my God. And then the casual, super suave ending where he's done the low blow, he picks up the chair and he saunters over to Seth, who's just standing there with his hand out like it's, he's got his back turned to him. But obviously prior to that, you talk about the Shield chair shot moment. It looked like it was going to be a chair shot, the Shield chair shot moment with that Reigns was going to do on Seth. It was peak storytelling. I was so thoroughly invested in this match, and oh my God, it was chef's kiss. 100% perfect, 5 stars. I cannot fault a single thing of it. I'll be honest, you mentioned the team up afterwards. I've got it written here. Interesting team up with Bron Breakker. I didn't see it as the evolution thing, but I think you've got a good point. I've actually written, but not the point, because the match was just that good. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
If anything, I care about it from Bron Breakker's perspective, him going on to team with Seth, more than I care about Seth teaming with Breakker, if that makes a weird kind of sense. Yeah. Like this was the match of Mania. It might not have main evented the Sunday night, which is supposed to be the bigger night, but it was the main event. It is the main event people will be talking about.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, again, you nailed it all right on the head. What an amazing way to end what I feel like public consensus would say was the weaker night of WrestleMania, just on what we saw. But the main event, honestly, I felt like like after having that in the nicest way possible, so very not great match, Charlotte Tiffany. Like this was like, all right, we got to have a banger here, and they did
Yeah.
not disappoint. So yeah, all right, moving on. We've got night 2,
Yeah.
and man, oh man, oh man, night 2 was great. Like I think start to the second to last match on the card. I thought it had much better. I enjoyed it much more than the matches on night 1. Like I had like again, I really liked the LA Knight and Gunther match. I liked Naomi and Bianca. And I liked Punk and Rollins. The other matches are like, all right, they're cool. Again, Jey Uso Gunther. I'm just not the biggest Jey Uso guy.
Sure.
But and so that's why, like me as a fan, I much enjoyed night 2 from start to the second to last match on the card. And what a way to start off the match. First of the night. First of all, that triple. Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, my computer glitched.
Okay.
uh, thanks. Yeah, but what a way to start off the night. Night 1, starting off with the triple threat for the women's world championship. I thought that this match was just as good as Punk, Rollins, and Reigns.
Nope.
Nope. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're
wrong.
No, you're wrong because the in-ring action between those 3 women, they did amazing work. Talk about fucking chemistry.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm
do.
talking about. Like the in ring work. Like again, without the storyline and without like the top level talent. Like again, the faces of the men's company being Reigns, Rollins, Punk. You've got Bianca, Io, and Rhea opening up night 1. And the in-ring action, like man, like you talked about, like I didn't know who was winning the entire. I didn't know who was winning the entire time. Like each moment felt like it was leading to something happening, and it paid off so amazing here. And I've got some notes because this was the one where I was like really excited for, because I saw it, and but again, it just had great chemistry the entire time through. Um, Rhea looked like $1,000,000. Bianca looked amazing. Io fucking looked amazing. And it just goes to show that those 3 women, they are now the pillars of this company. Like they just really are. It literally it just sets them up because again, you've had matches where, you had Bianca and Sasha. You had Rhea with Becky. Well, you had Bianca with Sasha and Bianca with Sasha and Becky. You've had Rhea with Becky and Charlotte, right? Io had a match with Bayley last year. They've had like kind of that passing of the torch with with the 4 horsewomen up to that point to really set them apart as like, all right, these are the next 3 girls up there. And everyone was like, it's always Bianca and Rhea, and Io was always kind of like down here because obviously like Io's got a little bit weaker on the mic skills because she's not a native English speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, oh man, like they literally went out there and outworked, I think, everyone on that card. Like that match it's the match of the night. It's sad to say it's the match of the night because it's the first match of the night. But it was the match of the night, and I will dare say the in-ring work was as good, if not just slightly a little bit better than the men's triple threat match that ended the show on night 1. Storytelling wise.
Okay. I want to jump in here. So when you say as good, and I say no, I want to be clear here. I have this written down as an A-tier match, right?
Okay.
I am not saying this was a bad match in the slightest, and I have my notes, and at the very bottom of my notes, I have great match. It's not the triple threat match that we had on the previous night, but that is not a fair thing because you are trying to compare a match to what I consider to be perfection, right?
Okay.
However, It was brilliant. Like everything you've said, you bang on. I think in the beginning, it was a little bit of an awkward start. I felt like they took a moment to get into things, but once they found their groove, and it didn't take them long, um, it was it was just great. I will call out one spot in particular which just didn't look right to me, which was there was I think Rhea and Io up on the top turnbuckle or nearest down, and then Bianca comes up behind them, trying to essentially suplex the pair of them. Because obviously, Bianca is, the
The
strongest or
powerhouse.
what
Yeah.
have you. She's the powerhouse, and she goes for it, and it just looked a little awkward. It took clearly like they were trying to get set up, and I don't know whether it was the positioning. I don't know what it was, but Bianca clearly couldn't like get the proper grip that she needed, and they had to just go for it. Which credit to them for just going for it, even though they weren't in position, because they could clearly tell it was taking too long. So, kudos there and what have you. But it just didn't look authentic. It didn't look like Bianca was suplexing them. It just looked like all three of them were falling backwards off the turnbuckles. And as a result of that, like, I mean, I can't say that it was as good as the night before because there wasn't a single thing I could call out on the night before. But this, as I say, a little awkward in the beginning, this sort of spot where things didn't look quite right. But that spot is in particular was quite early on. And things did build up. Things got really, really good. Other than that spot where I'm like saying it wasn't great, it's very difficult to call out any specific spots because they were all great moves. They were all big hitters and performed really well. Nothing was what I would call necessarily spectacular, but it's hard to call something spectacular when it's been framed by stuff that's also just as good. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying.
But it looked natural once they got into the groove of thing. And then the finish as well, it was clean enough to be believable with the moons. What was it? I think Bianca hits Rhea going for the pin.
KOD.
Io's that's
off,
it.
Off camera.
It was going for them. Was it?
Yeah, like you literally see, you don't even see Io hit the move. You just see Io fall back on top of them because she hits the moonsault, like the cutaway of the camera. Like you see the moonsault, you don't see Io hit the moonsault.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a moonsault out of nowhere, which again, I'm not going to say I didn't call it, but I did call it because I'm like, at least she's going to have a Jeff Hardy thing where it looks like they won and she's going to hit her top rope move from the cutoff and she's going to win the match that way. And then,
and that's what happened. But it was performed well. It was clean. It was believable.
Yeah.
Like it made Io look. It made all the women look good. And I think Io was the one that they needed to make shine. Because of the fact that she just doesn't have the same mic skills as the other women. Again, native speaker. It feels wrong and mean to be calling somebody out for that reasoning, but ultimately, like it's hard to get away from it. You're gonna struggle to get the same support from the fans. But I think the fans were clearly getting behind it. There was a decent number of cheers for her in the audience and what have you, and I love to see that.
I want to say the fans were most like during the match. I felt like the fans were behind Io the most.
Yeah, I think
out
so.
of everyone. And so it just brings me back to the fact that I'm just so happy that the women are getting these matches and they are fucking delivering. Right? Like, because again, you see this triple threat, and you know it's going to be a good match with the three names involved. But like again, you gave it an A. I mean, I'm a little bit higher on it just than you, a little bit more than you. But like it's just one of those things where like again, it's just such a great moment to see these three women shine in that way in the opener of WrestleMania. They're delivering one of the best women's matches we've probably ever have seen up to this point. One of them, I'm not saying the best because there's probably one or two that you could probably say. But one of the best women's matches that we've ever seen. And I actually think it is the first 5-star women's second 5-star women's match that ever got. I mean, no one gives a fuck about Dave Meltzer, but like he's very picky about things, and it's the second women's match to ever get a 5-star, which I think it just goes to show the in ring that how good that match really was to get a freaking a-hole like Dave Meltzer to give it 5 stars, And
Yeah.
so, again, happy for it. I think this is great for both all three women involved. I think it gives Io solidifying her as a good champion. It gives
Mhm.
Rhea a chance to maybe go to SmackDown and do something on that brand if she decides if that's the way they go. Move Bianca back to SmackDown, whatever. It gives all three women a chance to have their moment and then let them go do their own thing. And then as we saw on Raw, I don't know what they're going to be doing with that damn championship because we had
Yeah.
the semi debut of the NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Leclerc, who again that match on Raw was amazing. It was a really good match.
It
I really
was.
enjoy.
It was
I
really good.
love seeing that. Then you're seeing the interference between Roxanne Perez and Julia, who's from NXT as well. Um, those two girls look like $1,000,000. Like they looked amazing. Like just not the in-ring work, but their presentation and their aura
Yeah.
that they
I
showed.
I felt
They
like
looked good.
that was maybe more to build like them versus Stephanie rather than it
Yeah,
is for something Io to worry about.
exactly. But seeing those two women shown and then having Rhea come out. So I don't know where they're gonna go with this the title scene, but if this is your way to introduce Roxanne back into Raw, because she's kind of was there and then not there. And I personally am a big Roxanne Perez fan. I'm fine with her going straight to the world title scene because I don't feel like she needs to go for a mid card at this point. If that's the way they want to go with it. But again, again, WWE know how to present their superstars, and they've gotten so good at presenting the women in such a great light and highlighting their abilities that this match has solidified that I am so happy with the way they book the
Yeah.
singles women division. The tag team division we're going to get into, but the singles women division did a great job. And hats off to you, WWE. Hats off to the ladies. Great way to start night 2 of WrestleMania on a hot start
Yep.
to us moving in to one of my again another great match on the night. I know you're going to talk about the entrances in a second, but the Priest and McIntyre match, which was,
How
in
do you
my
know what I've written down here on my notes about the end?
because I noticed it. Because I noticed it.
Cool.
I
Okay.
literally said, did they really make Drew at WrestleMania entrance and sponsorship entrance? Did they really do that to Drew McIntyre? That's really
So
what I
what?
said.
What? I don't even know what that was. I didn't clock it. I was just like,
It was for
why
it
is
was
Drew like
it was
on
for
this plinth for I don't know what
it
felt
was
like
for
60 whole seconds.
it was for Doom. It was like a new Doom game coming out or something like that.
Oh.
But again, I was
Yeah,
like,
they need to
for
watch the sponsorship. I don't mind the stuff like on the ring floor because I know that was first called out when they
yeah,
moved to Netflix and stuff. That
yeah,
doesn't bother me. I don't feel like it, no matter how prominent it is, I don't
mhm,
feel like it's taking center stage. Like the wrestling on top of it is what I care about.
yeah.
However, these entrances, you
It was
gotta
it was
watch it. That Clash of
it,
Clans thing, not good.
it
This
was
Halo thing, like what?
yeah, it
Stop
was a little.
posing, man.
The entrance was a little jarring for sure. I looked up Drew. I'm like, at first I was like, is he trying to be Kano from like Mortal Kombat right now? Like, what's going on with this? And then I saw us for sponsored by Doom, and I'm like, oh my god, they did that to my man Drew. Drew said, all right, I guess as long as I'm getting paid for it, whatever. But yeah, the match
Fair play,
itself.
Drew.
Literally the first note I have is that is how you do a street fight. Like that's how you
Yep.
do a street fight. That's just how you do it. That's how you do a no holds bar, no DQ, gruesome street
Yeah.
fight.
This
I
is it.
thought,
Like I've got it down as it they went outside the ring early on, and this is
mhm,
what you want to see. Like they didn't hold back on getting the weapons out. They went like quite quickly for them. There was tiny little tussle, like but on the I don't even know whether it was like concrete, but like on the ring, sorry, the ramp down or what have you, and then it was straight to the stairs, and then for the chairs or table or whatever they went for next.
yeah, no,
Yeah, it they didn't hold back, and that was great to see.
yeah, they had some. Like I said, I've noted they had some gruesome spots. The table spot, some chair spots, and stuff like that. The steel steps being involved. It literally is the DDT again to the steps was another one that I noted down. I was like, that was just gnarly.
Yeah.
Like it was sick.
Hmm.
And then, you know, it was just again a great match that just had levels. It built like I feel like night one, they most of the matches never got to that fourth or fifth gear. You know, I feel like they kind of cut off at the third gear besides the LA Knight match and the Jey Uso match, LA Knight match, and CM Punk triple threat match.
Yeah,
Those matches
sure,
hit that gear, but it felt like all these matches got to that gear, and they got to it the right way. Like it didn't. The matches weren't any longer, but it felt like each match got to that gear that you wanted to see, where the ending was satisfying. Again, some good kickouts. Again, they again the 2.5 kick out. Like I think it's an art form, and they did really well with that. And then obviously Drew ends up winning with, in my opinion, the gnarliest Claymore I've ever seen. That spot with his head right there, that was gnarly. Like I don't know how you don't get hurt from that. I don't know how you don't crack your neck, you don't fuck your face up. Like that spot was fucking gnarly. Like even though I know it's all staged and they have production, I mean I looked away for half a second. I was like, oh my gosh, like that. I thought he was going to pull out the last second and his foot was going to go through the chair, but no, he just straight up hits the Claymore like that, picks up the win. And like we talked about, man, that's just how you do a street fight 101. Again, super happy for these two men who obviously were main focal points for the majority of the year. Didn't really get a good championship match, but they were given this match and they went to town on it. They built it up really well. And the match itself did not disappoint.
No, I mean, so what I would say about it is, I the first watch through, I didn't notice this. The second watch through, this match was actually almost like you're watching Drew, who is the far more experienced wrestler, right? I'm not saying Priest is inexperienced. He's solid, right? I'm not calling out Priest on this, but Drew is like, he's a grizzled veteran, right? And I felt like it was properly showing that he knows how to handle himself, because you know what? Priest did not get that many moves in on Drew. Drew controlled this match almost entirely from start to finish. From the moment they first got outside of the ring, I think there's whatever moves there, but the moment they moved to the weaponry, Drew just did not let up on Priest. Yeah. There were a couple of spots where you see Priest fighting back, so it didn't make Priest look weak by any means. I mean, I've got here, like, he hits the razor's edge, throwing Drew through the table.
Amazing spot.
But yeah, brilliant spot. But he didn't actually ever get full control of it, other than hitting these one-off moves. It was Drew in control. But what I liked about this is what you would expect when this sort of weaponry is involved, because realistically, once you're hit with something like that, you know, once you're hit with the steps or a chair or whatever, you shouldn't be like realistically fighting back in any meaningful way. It should be like, this guy's down and out. And Priest sold it. Priest sold it well, but in a way that didn't make him look weak, because he was like clearly trying to fight back, but just struggling given the positioning that Drew took early in the match. And I feel it sold both of them so well. I got that Drew was clearly, he was demonstrating, this is how you use the years of experience that I have. And I felt it built Drew up so well, which is why when you mentioned earlier that he's now going for the US belt, I was a little disappointed, because I would have liked to have seen him go for something bigger. I feel like this could have been the launch pad to push him back onto the big titles, you know. Probably not the undisputed belt, because I'm sure there's plans for that, but I mean, the heavyweight belt of Jay or something along those lines. That would what I would like to see from it. But yeah, this match, it was vicious, it was brutal, it was awesome to watch. This was what you do in a street fight. Clinical, like perfect, grade A. I'll be honest, like as I am high on the women's triple threat match, but this was my favorite match of the night.
Okay. Fair.
You know, this isn't putting other matches down. I'm just saying this one was that good.
Yeah, no, it was a good. Like I said, it's just how you do it a street fight. Like it really is. They literally just did such a good job. That's just how you sell. That's how you sell a street fight. It's not supposed to be, oh, let's hit each other with a bunch of chairs, get back up. Da, da, da. No, it was gnarly. It was brutal. There's two big, strong fucking guys fucking destroying each other for about 20 minutes, and they did a really good job of doing that. And then just a quick
in the books.
Yeah. And then just a quick thing. You mentioned the US title for Drew, which you're a little bit disappointed. I would say, like, I'm disappointed that he's there too, but like if this is just to go to a match for Backlash, again, a match that has 10 like a 2-week build, really, a pay-per-view build, I don't mind giving Drew a moment to do that, because if not, what is he doing? Right? Like he's not doing anything.
I don't think they're going to take it off Fatu for a while anyway.
No.
You know, I think he's going to hold this for a good long chunk of time.
And you can do a storyline where that in that match where Drew is pulled away from something happening, whether he goes back to that Bloodline Hunter storyline, where like let's say Solo gets involved in the match or something like that, and Drew ends up going out after the Bloodline and stuff like that. Like I like that storyline for Drew that leads to a match with Reigns later down the line. But yeah, moving on to that, we have the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker,
great match,
yeah. Braun Breaker, Dom, Finn, and Penta. Again, another, like I said, literally the first night, this is like another amazing match. Again, it got to all the right gears. In the match, it flowed really well. Everyone worked super, super well together. Really great things. Again, love the spears, bronze spears. Again, it's the best spear in the business. I don't care what anyone says. It's the best spears I've ever seen in all my years of watching, in my opinion. Some of these spears that he's been doing. Again, Penta looked amazing. Again, I wrote down "Eat Your Heart Out" AEW, because it's just like, bro, like I don't know how you let someone like Penta go like that, because again, this isn't me getting on the dirt sheets, but apparently like they weren't happy with the way they're being booked. They wanted out, which is why they wanted to go to WWE. And WWE is just showing like this is how you book them properly. And Penta looks like $1 million. You know, when you talk about the successor of Rey Mysterio, who's going to be that next luchador up, you got two of them right now in Penta and Rey Fenix. You do.
I prefer Rey Fenix, but this isn't talking smack about Penta, but personally, I prefer Rey Fenix. But Penta's great. Like,
you got two luchadors who are extremely over. That if you want to do like if Rey finally decides to hang up the mask, so to speak, finally, like you got two great masked luchadors in the wings that can be that face for the Hispanic audience, if that's what you're going for. I literally wrote down poor Carlito. I love Carlito getting. I just love Carlito getting speared, and I loved Michael Cole saying the call's like, I think Carlito's dead, and it just made me laugh the entire time, and it was just super fun. And then again, all the spots.
Is that where we saw Pat McAfee sort of like almost dancing next to his corpse?
Yes, exactly.
And it was just like McAfee is just fantastic for the comedy.
Yeah. I love it. And so, yeah, that spear. And then, again, the in-ring action going into it. Finn hitting the coup de grace on Breaker, making us think that he got it. And then the entire match, I feel like, the match, you're wondering when Dom's going to, like, who's going to turn on who first, Finn or Dom. Obviously, Dom being, Eddie Guerrero Jr. over here turns on Finn quickly to go for that 619, which Finn counters, obviously. He's like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be working together. And, that leads into that. And then ultimately, like I called it, once again,
we called it. We were
like
both on the side.
We called it. We were like, it's going to happen where Dom's going to get the win. I will say, when I say I called it, I was like, I talked about how it was going to be Finn hitting a move. And then out of nowhere, Dom's gonna hit Finn with a frog splash again that we don't see. Again, it's going to be a cutaway frog splash. As I'm just a nerd, man. I watch too much wrestling. But Dom hits the frog splash and wins, pins Finn, and like I couldn't be happier for Dom, honestly, man. I think it's a great payoff for a guy. He deserved the belt. He definitely deserved it. I loved
Yeah.
how happy the crowd was. I love how he's supposed to be a heel, but the crowd just loves him so much. And I love the scene where he's walking back and everyone's cheering for him. He's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna run back up there. And he runs back up there,
Which
holds
you
the belt
would,
up.
right?
Which you
I
would,
was saying
right?
this to my mate that I was watching. It was if you are Dom in that moment, you are
Yeah.
100% going, fuck it. Yeah, I am having this moment. This is
Yeah.
not only my, okay, he may have won tag belts before, but like, this is my first singles belt. This is
Big
my
singles
first
belt. Yeah.
big win at Mania. Like, I am
Yeah.
having my goddamn moment. And
Hmm.
frankly, I couldn't be happier for him. Like,
Yeah.
I am so behind him. And you know what I see? I see that blossoming Eddie Guerrero character, which
Yeah.
is obviously what they want to bill him as. And
Hmm.
I think it has finally been long enough that we can have somebody to take that mantle, and there is nobody
Yeah.
better positioned
Yeah.
to do it than Tom. I have been looking for that, uh, you know, cheeky face, that face that fights like a heel for a very long time in wrestling. And
Yeah.
frankly, since Eddie's unfortunate passing, I
Yeah.
don't think we've had somebody of quite that
Hmm.
quite that build. Whereas I think Dom, who God bless, has literally the perfect storyline and background to be doing this. I
Yeah.
think he's perfectly positioned to take it, and I think the fans are going to get behind him. And they hated him for a
Hmm.
while. Like I never heard boos like I used to hear for Dominic
No.
Mysterio,
Hmm.
but they are now those boos have turned solidly into cheers,
Yeah.
and I think this is absolutely wonderful to see.
Yeah, it
Um,
literally is the perfect example of a character that you love to hate, and like then eventually the hate turns into love. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's it.
that's literally what it is. And so yeah, again, like you mentioned, it's like a perfect thing. Like he is going to be the next like portrayal of the Eddie Guerrero type, and he's going to play to
Mhm.
perfection. He's got done nothing but get better over the last 4 years in that ring. His character work is amazing. You know, he is going to be one of the. I mean, we talk about the future all the time, like with these younger guys. Dominic Mysterio, I think, is like 26 years old. Like
Yeah.
he's young. He's going to be here for a long fucking time, and I couldn't be happier for the guy. And just I can't wait to see what he does with this belt. I don't think he holds on to it long. I don't think he's like has a crazy long historic title reign with it, but I think it's a great match and great storyline to push Dominic into becoming more of that lovable bad guy that everyone loves because he does bad things. And I can't wait to see what they do with Dom because he's a
No,
his
absolutely.
his character work is amazing. And then yeah, going on from that, I do believe we do have the Randy Orton versus the mystery opponent match. He finally got a match. We kind of knew it was going to happen. This is one of those matches where they could have. Okay, so I actually enjoyed what they did with this match personally. I'm glad it was a quick match. I'm glad who we
Yeah,
got. You know,
yeah.
I did not know who they were gonna have. Like, so if this would have been a returning like WWE guy, like let's say a Sami Zayn, coming back from injury to replace KO.
They could have done Rusev.
Yeah,
Obviously,
a
they've just
Rus
brought Rusev back. This would have been like the
Yeah,
perfect place to bring him back and be like,
they could have done Rusev. They could have done returning Aleister Black, who just returned last night on this Friday on SmackDown. They could have done a
okay,
lot. They could have done a lot with it, right? But the TNA partnership, they brought out Joe Hendry, and the roof blew off the fucking house. People were so happy to see him.
yeah.
Like, and again, I mean, I like Joe Hendry. I think he wrestles really, really well. And I really do enjoy Joe Henry. I think it was a perfect call for what it was. I didn't see Joe. I didn't see it coming. I was excited to see him, and the match was exactly what it needed to be. Again, you don't need to have a whole 10-minute title match with Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry, in the nicest way possible, is like a wrestling meme at this point. Like it's just like his entrance is there. He does the spots with the terms like he does the
Yeah.
whole thing, and it's exactly what it needed to be. And they had a fun moment where this guy that is a TNA champion, who honestly, when his contract's done with TNA, is obviously going to sign with the WWE. and be a part of their branding most likely. And to go out there and headline a 60 again, the biggest house he's ever seen in his entire life, 60,000 plus people against Randy fucking Orton. And he gets his arc, and then he gets an RKO moment, which is going to be an RKO moment that people talk about for years to come because it's so funny. Like, and it's just.
Are you talking about the one after the match, or
no, the one
where he was during the match?
Yeah, the one during the match he does the pose, like, and he hits him with the RKO. I'm like, it's perfect, dude. And like, I was like, a second he's talking, like, oh, there's an RKO out of nowhere. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, cool. Gives him his props, hits him with another RKO, and I'm like, it's exactly what the match needed to be. It was a fun match. And yeah, that's how you do a mystery opponent match where you want to get a quick pop from the crowd. And giving Randy Orton his 20th match doesn't have to be a banger 15, 20-minute match. I don't even know if I really wanted to prefer that at that moment in time with Joe Hendry.
No. So I the way I've got it written down, good clean match, very glad it was over quickly, right? Yeah. So as somebody that doesn't follow any other of the industry, any of the companies, I have never heard of this Joe Hendry before.
Oh, right? Really?
So yeah, the thing comes back, I see him, I'm like, who's this guy? I see the TNA World Champion belt. I'm like, he's the TNA World Champion. Cool, this makes sense. This is perfect opponent and what have you. The meme is obviously lost on me. I learned the meme during the match and I got the meme very quickly. So like, it clearly is very good. It does what it is supposed to do. But yeah, seeing TNA World Champion, I was like, appropriate opponent. I'm here for it. And the match was short but sweet. It didn't need to be anything fancy. I was glad it was over quickly because not knowing him, I didn't care. So looking through a different set of eyes compared to yourself, who obviously does know who he is. Maybe some people, and I'm not saying you, but maybe they might have wanted to see more of the match. But from my perspective, I was like, no, cool, we got what we needed. And frankly, I enjoyed the humor in the match. There was a point where Joe goes for what looks like to be a choke slam, and Orton just kind of stands there with the hand raised, like, what are you going to do? Like, clearly, like, there's the head above him, and then just sort of like, I don't know, pushes him back or hits him with some move or something. And then after, where he's like, Randy's won, but he gets him and he's like, hit your thing. He's like, waves to the crowd, all this sort of thing. Drink it in, and then while it looks like he's being the nice guy, Randy does what Randy does, hits him with another RKO for no good reason other than to make Randy look good. And it's like, cool, great. But then Randy does the meme. It's like, at that point, I've learned what the meme is on the fly, and Randy does it, and I'm just like, okay, that's funny.
No,
it was a great light-hearted comic relief moment to Mania, which I think we needed. I don't think the match was necessarily spectacular, but it wasn't meant to be spectacular.
You can't have a spectacular match in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, no. you can't. You can have a solid match in 3 minutes, but yeah, that's exactly what it needed to be. And again, just to highlight it, the last note I have is like, love the meme. Good job, Randy. And then going into the next match on the card, we have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I'm not going to lie to you. The in-ring action of this match was great. I enjoyed it a lot. It was good. Yeah. Logan can fucking wrestle. Like, again, because, I will say, like, Logan, like, will have it. Like, Logan matches always have, like, a couple things. Like, they have the spots, so Logan spots. It actually didn't really have that other than the drone shot, which I thought was pretty innovative. But usually, it's a stereotypical Logan match. He can actually go on the ring. There's the interference with the guy with the brass knuckles. Karrion Kross comes in. He stops him, which I'm like, again, I love Karrion Kross. I hope he does more. Like I said, I figured that Karrion Kross was going to have a moment in this match, which leads to another feud down the line where he tries to get AJ Styles to cheat to win, to beat this fake wrestler guy. He does not do it. He ends up losing to Logan Paul. Which again, it's one of those matches where it was a fine match. It was slow. It wasn't like, I felt like the crowd wasn't really into it at all. Watching it, I enjoyed the in-ring action.
Mhm.
Logan Paul's finisher is really great. I love that. Whatever it's the pulverizer, whatever it is, it's really good.
Pulverizer, yeah.
Really, really one of the best finishes that are out there in my opinion right now.
Oh yeah, it's 100 times better than some of the crap that's going around.
So, yeah, and then I mean, I feel for AJ a little bit. Like, I wish AJ, like, I want AJ to win because I love AJ Styles, but because he's getting older. Who knows? I don't think it's gonna be his last Mania, but it's gonna be one of his last Manias
Yeah,
that we
it doesn't
probably.
have that many more that he's going to be doing like
Yeah, and
particularly well
so
in.
exactly. So, I was felt a little for him, doing that. But again, again, he carried the match as the veteran. Logan Paul looked amazing, which is exactly what you wanted. If you're trying to portray Logan as a wrestler, they portrayed Logan Paul as a good wrestler for this match. And then it continues the storyline with Karrion Kross, which I'm here for because I want more Karrion Kross on my TV. And it just kind of goes to show that, like, again, they're playing to the fact that Logan's kind of this outsider aspect, and everything's like, you got to do this for the boys in the back, AJ. You can't. You're AJ fucking Styles. You can't lose to fucking Logan Paul. And he loses to him. And I think it's a great storytelling arc for it. If they turn AJ Styles heel again, like, that's cool. But again, it just brings it back to, again, great match, solid match. I don't really have too many notes on it because I didn't think there was anything super noteworthy of it. It was just a solid 7 out of 10 wrestling match.
So I do not disagree with anything you've said there. The in-ring work was pretty damn good. And frankly, that is what you get in almost every single Logan Paul match. Now, whether it's Logan Paul or whether it's who's being booked with, I think that is a conversation that you can definitely have, but it's not the conversation that I necessarily want to have here today. My thing was from this was you're coming off, right? I almost don't care so much about the match. What I care about is the night as a whole. You're coming off. You've had women's triple threat, amazing. Priest versus McIntyre, amazing. The 4-way for the Intercontinental, amazing. And then you get this comic relief moment of Orton versus Joe Hendry, and it's like it's almost an intended lull in the middle of the night, and I didn't have any problem with that match. But then it's like, okay, let's get back to some big important like action that I can really sink my teeth into. And regardless of whether the in-ring work was good or not, I just did not give a shit about this match. By the time it came up, I was just like, I like watching Logan Paul wrestle. Okay. I do. I think that you will always have a good match with him. Again, maybe it's his booking. Who knows? But he is good. He presents himself as a very talented wrestler, and I'm here for that. But the match was just so. I don't care. And part of it is the way that the night has flowed to this point. I felt like as good as the in-ring work was, it was nothing really new from either of them. I don't feel like this was a Mania quality match.
Yeah.
And I think part of my issue with this is, currently speaking, Logan Paul is being booked like a top tier prize fighter. The person I would actually compare his booking to, of all people, is Brock Lesnar. Right, which might sound crazy because Logan Paul is not Brock Lesnar, but all you are doing is wheeling him out for these big pay-per-views. And I get it, probably because he's got a very limited number of matches he's actually contracted to do. I'm sure he's paid very highly because he's already probably richer than most of the guys in the back for each one of the ones he's coming out for. And so there's a certain way that you have to book him. However, at the moment, I just don't care what they're doing with Logan Paul, because I'm not saying he's not a good wrestler. I think he is, but he's just being booked in completely the wrong way. Like, the type of wrestler that he is, I want to see him do more where it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
I think you need to do that to build an amount of credibility to make me give a damn about these big matches where it's, middle of WrestleMania night 2, you're coming off this comic relief match, and then you give me it's AJ, who is at this point an aging veteran. I'm going to say AJ is not as good as he used to be. Like some veterans get better with age. I think AJ's not slipping, but just not what I would call phenomenal anymore. You know what I mean? And versus somebody that, even though I like as a wrestler, is not someone I care about as a wrestler. And I just feel like it just wasn't booked well. There was, the match was fine. I'm not criticizing the match. What I'm saying is, like, if this would have been on SmackDown or Raw, this would have been A-tier main event style match. Like, that's how good the in-ring work was. However, at Mania, it's a pointless mid-card. See, I don't care. Like, this is when I'm going to go to the toilet, because give me something I can give a shit about,
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, again, like I said, it was I think it was better than a couple not on this night, but like I think it was better than the tag match on night 1. I honestly think it was, I hate to say it, I don't want to sound terrible, but I thought it was better than the Charlotte and fucking Tiffany Stratton match, from just watching, which is
It was, but I didn't care about it. And that
exactly.
is my problem with it.
Yeah, it's the fact that there was no really good, the build up to the match was terrible. Like, again, there was no really good build for it, even going into Mania. So yeah, it felt lackluster. But yeah, I mean, that's literally how I literally put at the end of it. It's like, it happened.
Yeah.
All right. And so here comes, oh boy. Oh my God. We're coming into the women's tag match. And just to give you guys a preview, these last 2 matches, I'm going to be upset. Just letting y'all know ahead of time. Yeah, we got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, an actual tag team coming out here. They looked like $1 million. I literally said, when Liv Morgan walked outside, I literally looked to my roommate and I was like, bruh, you can't be doing this to me right now. She looked amazing. Okay,
so, right. I'm going to interject. I was watching this with my mate, and his girlfriend didn't have anything to do on the evening. So obviously we weren't watching live, because it's just so hard to do here in the UK.
Yeah.
So we were watching like a day or 2 later. His girlfriend, that obviously he lives with, she was going to be like bored at home, so he was like, can she come watch as well? She doesn't really watch wrestling, but she'd be here for it, drink a few beers with it. Like, cool, I like her, great. A lot of the evening he spent, so which one of these wrestlers do you find most attractive? Which I think was like, that is a dangerous conversation to have, but hey, it's his girlfriend. I'm not getting involved in that. Frankly, where she piped up the most was when Liv was walking down to the ring.
Yeah.
It's like, she was like, damn.
Yeah. That's what I literally said. I literally said, what the fuck, man? That's literally what I said. But they come out to the ring, they proper tag team. Lyra comes out. Lyra looked amazing. Like, her presentation, she looked amazing. Like, really, what a great
this costume. Yay.
Yeah. Like, what a great way to present the women's IC champion, even though it's not a singles match, but what a great way to do it. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we had it was confirmed that it was going to be Lyra and Bayley versus Raquel. Bayley gets taken out on night 1 pre-show as now a mystery opponent. And to me, I called it. I think me and Nick both kind of called it a little bit. I was like, yeah, it's going to be Becky.
Well, no, you called it, and I was like, I'm here for that. If that's what it's going to be, I'm here for it.
I was like, Becky comes out, and then it was a decent tag match. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was, again, just a Becky highlight. I call it a Becky moment, where Becky just comes in, does her thing, wins. And they take the championship off Liv and Raquel, which again, I was pissed off about that night, because I'm like, bro, like, how are you going to have now at this point, a tag team that's never worked together, at this point, a 3-time tag team championship team together to beat them. So I was not happy with the end result. And then the fucking, Raw after Mania, they have a rematch, and then they beat them, and then Becky turns on Lyra, which again, I'm here for. I'm okay with it, but why didn't you just do that on fucking Mania. Have Liv and Raquel beat them at Mania. I
Right.
get you want to have Becky have her moment at WrestleMania
Hang
and
on,
whatever.
Luke. Let me jump in, right? Because I feel like this match is not about the match. It's about the future booking, and I want to have that conversation. So very briefly, I'm just gonna touch on the match before we go on to it. Which is the match was very run-of-the-mill tag team stuff, whatever, don't care. What I did notice was Lyra basically never got a chance to shine, right? What you needed from this match was a chance to, like, because Lyra's wearing this gold, and I'm not saying that she's not a good wrestler, but it's she doesn't necessarily have that momentum that you need. And it was basically classic heel stuff. Isolate the, the weaker of the face wrestlers. So they isolate Lyra. She just gets beat up. And then when Becky comes in, like, that's where you get the big crowd pop. But normally that's not necessarily the end of the match. But it was literally Becky got into the ring, I think, for only the second time. Lyra had not hit anything actually that big, like, that mattered. And Becky just basically single-handedly wins the match. Lyra does some stuff outside of the ring to, like, keep them busy or whatnot, but I felt like it was doing a massive disservice to Lyra, which then just makes the future booking even worse, because I feel like if you're gonna put the tags on them, that is something that could really support her going forward. Okay, I've had my moment about the match. Now you can talk about the forward booking of what's going on here. Go ahead. I had to get that out because it doesn't matter. That match doesn't matter, right? What matters is what the fuck are they doing with all this?
Yeah, and again, it's like my problem with it is, like, if that's the story that you want to tell, do it at fucking Mania, because that's a Mania moment. Becky returns. Everyone's super happy that Becky's back. Becky turns on Lyra after they lose the match. Becky's a heel. That's a moment, right? Like, that's a WrestleMania moment. The return's a moment, I guess, a moment too, but, like, that's also a moment because doing it the night after, then just giving it back to Liv and Raquel, like, cool, they get another. I guess they get another notch to the amount of times they held it. But again, it's just shitty booking for the women's tag division, right? Like, if that's the way you want to do it, you want to. I'm such a big proponent when it comes to tag team wrestling. Solid teams should hold the belt. These put together two big guys. They have one match together. They win the belt. Yada yada yada. Not a big fan of that. I've never really been a big fan of it because it never really worked. And clearly WWE realized it doesn't work, and they just did a switch in the middle the next day, which I'm assuming was the original plan all along. But if you're gonna have them hold it for a little bit longer, then have them, like, have maybe one or two title defenses, to then have them have that moment split up with Becky turns, because it was just so fucking quick. And then the future booking of it all I can see is this is going to be a way to elevate the women's IC title, because it's going to be Becky and Lyra, which I'm here for, because you got to elevate that title because it's dead in the water at this point. You know, and I just feel like they could have just done it in such a different way, and they did not do it. And it's just it falls fucking flat, and it's a head scratcher, which was my biggest thing the entire time. Like, if you were gonna have, like, if they won it if Lyra won it with Bailey, fine, cool. I can believe that a little bit more. But the second I saw Becky and then when, I'm like, okay, when's the turn? I literally said, when's the turn gonna happen? And my last note was like, this better fucking elevate the IC belt. Like, I don't want to see the IC Women's Championship in a tag team championship scene. Like, who's defending that belt? When's she going to defend it? And then they did it. They did the breakup, and I'm assuming it's going to lead to an IC title match, which again is going to elevate it. And if you give it to someone like Becky Lynch, I mean, that's only going to elevate that belt even more because it's fucking Becky Lynch. Which I'm assuming this is exactly what they're going to do. And I just feel bad for the Liv and Raquel, who are a really good women's tag team, and I wish they had better. And I feel like you could have just done the tag team scene better overall. I don't know, man. It's just it's a head scratcher.
I'm with you. I am with you for like pretty much all of this. So this was again one of the predictions where we split on, and I called them dropping the tag belts to
Yeah, you
what at
did.
the time was Lyra and Bailey. The reason I said that was because I felt like Lyra had not been portrayed amazingly, through no fault of her own. It was the booking, but I felt like having her be in a tag with a really strong partner was potentially really, really good for her. I felt like that could be the time where originally Bailey, now it would have been Becky Lynch, which, you know, the double Irish girls, brilliant. That they are pulling Lyra up by association.
Mhm.
What you have now is this feud, which there's no way you can convince me that Lyra is stronger than Becky, especially with the performance that you've had in Ring, where Lyra didn't really get time to shine. You know, in the tag team match, Lyra didn't get time to shine, and then after the match on Raw, you've got Becky turning on Lyra, you know, pulling her down. Lyra has not been made to look strong or capable as a champion in the slightest. So if you're going to convince me that in a couple of weeks' time at Backlash that she can beat Becky to maintain, like, hold on to this belt, then I just don't believe it. And if you're going to give Becky the belt, well, frankly, one, she doesn't need it, and two, you're just continuing to put down Lyra to the point where I don't care about anything she's doing in the future. It's going to take years to repair the damage that you're doing to her, as like her capabilities. And I felt like a tag team would have been the perfect place to lift her up. You then she can then drop the belt to somebody else. I thought Liv, because I thought, great, perfect time, Liv and Dom as the dual intercontinentals. I don't think it does anything to what is it, Raquel's persona. She's fine. She's always going to look like a strong character. If anything, you could maybe have her move away from Liv and less of a feud between them kind of ways, so she can do her own thing. Because I feel like she's had the treatment which Lyra needs and being lifted up and put on the spotlight that Liv has given her. Right?
Yeah.
She has already had that. So I thought this was the perfect time to let her go and do her own thing. But all you've done is just you've given those two another notch as tags. Sure, whatever. I don't give a damn. And just made it damn confusing for whatever the future holds for the IC belt and in particular Lyra. And on top of all of this, right, what blows my mind is in the beginning, Becky was a face, the most facest of faces, super over with the crowd. Then she comes back, and as far as I'm aware from interviews and stuff like that, it was Becky's decision that she wanted to be made into a heel. The crowd refused to buy into that, and no matter what she was saying, were still cheering for her. She was slagging the crowd off, and they were cheering for her all the same. You now have her come back in this return to Mania fashion, where she has probably one of the biggest pops of the entire night, right, with her return. And clearly, she is still over with the fans. They do not see her as the heel that she was portraying when she left. She's so you're returning her as a face, and then immediately you try and turn her heel again, which is not going to work. It is decimating Lyra's credibility, and it is making me just see Becky in a light of like, right? Like this booking, like, unless they have something amazing planned, God knows where down the line, this booking is the most confusing thing to me because I do not get what the fuck they are going for.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's really what it is. It's just confusing. Again, I think they could make a heel Becky work. It's going to take some fucking work. It's going to take a lot of work to make people want to boo her. But like you said, it just all it does is it makes Lyra she drops his belt, it makes Lyra look. It just makes Lyra. No one gives a fuck about Lyra, and she just becomes
Yeah.
another woman on the in the fucking cog. You know, she might have a match here and there, and and I've watched a couple Lyra matches on like singles matches and her stuff in NXT, and she's really fucking good. Like in the ring, like people can get. I mean, you heard during the Raw after Mania and the WrestleMania when they're doing the woo with her, you know,
Yeah.
in the crowd,
Yeah.
which is like again cool thing, like to get her involved. But like, if you're gonna put the belt on Becky, that just ruins Lyra. And this is the opportunity where you can do this. And I wish they would have played this out because this would have been a great opportunity to push Lyra up, right? Have her beat Becky for the IC, have her beat Becky and retain her IC title. The mentor loses to the protege, as you say, you know, and that's a great way. But it's just happening so fucking quick that I can't get behind it. You could have built this over, had this match at SummerSlam, build the women's IC title belt up, build the tag team scene up a little bit more as well. And it's just questionable booking at its best. And yeah, I'm not here for it. I'm not happy with it.
No. Same.
And then,
all right,
yeah,
shall we do this? main event, the 2 nights building up to John Cena, currently 16-time champion, paired with, tied with Ric Flair for most belts of all time, versus the current hero, the guy that freed us from the reign of reigns, Cody Rhodes. In, like, I mean, I was a little lackluster on the billing. I love Cena, but I just don't think this was ever going to get his greatest work out of it. But, and I'm kind of jumping in here because I know what you're going to say about this match. Okay. As a Cena fanboy, I quite enjoyed watching this. Okay. I recognize this was not the greatest of matches, but this was a way that we haven't seen Cena fight before, and I enjoyed it. I feel like his portrayal of a heel was very well done. He kept the match entirely at his pace. Like, it was overall, I felt like he did really well portraying this character. And like, what I will say, Cody was allowed to get some stuff in the beginning, but then very quickly Cena was appearing as the veteran. He was just like, no. I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to use every ounce of my expertise to, like, when I'm not trying to play the hero, to just be a bastard. And it shone through. Now, I will say that if this had been Cena throughout his whole career, I would not be the Cena fanboy that I am now. Because this isn't the type of match that I'd want to watch. But this was the best I've seen Cena since he left all those years ago. Since he's come back, he's not been portrayed strongly in the slightest. And I was here to see Cena actually doing some good work, looking strong, looking like the pro that I, grew to love and what have you. Like Cena, sorry, Cody got some flutters in the middle, but overall, this was Cena's match. I didn't like the ending. What the fuck did you need to bring Travis Scott into it for? And I'm sure you're going to complain about that more. But I guess I get that it was just giving the opportunity for Cena to look more like a heel. Fine. So from a Cena fanboy perspective, I enjoyed the match. If I was trying to be a journalist and be impartial about this, I recognize it was not the best. And fine. The interesting thing for me, and I think you'll probably touch on this, is the crowd's opinion of what was going on in all of this, and the fact that they so quickly turned on Cody. And I think that is the one takeaway from this, that we loved Cody for taking the belt off Reigns. nobody actually loves Cody as a star. Not in the same way that I think he's portrayed to be. But look, I've said my piece. I needed to get in there first because I didn't want to like I didn't want to then be contradicting you because I know how down you are on this. So just overall, it was just a really nice thing to watch Cena be a pro again. Plus, we never have to talk about Ric Flair again. Yay for that, kind of, I suppose. You know, no confusion over the who's holding the record. Okay, Luke, tell me, did you love watching Cena win this belt? Did you enjoy this match?
I'm glad Cena won the belt. He needed to win this match.
Okay, cool.
He needed to win this match.
Yeah, he did.
Do not like this match at all. I think I will say Cena did really well working as a heel, but this match was boring as fuck. It was boring.
Sorry.
It was it was boring. It was like the crowd was dead. Yeah, the crowd turned on Cody, but like again, like you want Cena to win this match. Like I knew the crowd was going to turn on Cody. I think your point about Cody, people loved Cody because he was going to be the guy they took the belt off. Right? I think you have a point overall. That being said, he's like the new Cena in the sense that people either love or they're going to hate him because he is number one in merch. You cannot deny that. He is going to be the one that does take the belt off Cena. He's going to have his moment where it's going to be the passing of the torch. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
But like, I agree with your take, but like, I don't think the fans don't like Cody because of I don't think the fans only liked Cody because he took the belt off. Right? I think the fans like Cody because I think Cody Rhodes himself is a good character. And I'm, again, not like the biggest Cody fanboy at all. You know, I wasn't the biggest Cena guy either because it's just like low Cena wins, low Cody wins. It's kind of like that kind of thing that we've got going on here. But the match itself, like Cena worked it really well as a heel, don't get me wrong, and it's the best Cena's looked in a really long time. But the match was slow. The match was boring. The match needed something to happen. And so I'm seeing the match play out, and then I hear Travis Scott's music hit. And I'm like, okay. Like, all right, I literally said, all right, here we fucking go. Because this is where I'm like, we're going to see Travis Scott. We're going to see The Rock come out, you know, and help Cena win this match. It's going to be like this kind of, again, going back to the WrestleMania 40 main event where everyone's kind of coming out. I felt like they were going to go back to that. And then it never happened. It was just Travis Scott who took way too fucking long to walk to the ring to do absolutely fucking nothing, but get fucking crossroaded to Cena winning literally with a fucking headshot with the title to win the belt, which is like, okay, he's a heel, I get that. But like the finish was so fucking bad. It was god awful. Like it was not a good finish, and it was not like I'm glad Cena won. Like he won that belt, and I get you're trying to like this is the portrayal of Cena ruining professional wrestling. And if that's the angle they want to shoot with the Travis Scott bullshit, I guess if that's the only angle I can see you taking out using this bullshit way of ending a fucking great night of fucking wrestling up to that point. I hated it, man. I hated everything about it. Like it upset me. It upset me. Like I'm happy Cena won the belt, but like have him win in a different way. You don't like if The Rock wasn't coming out, you don't need Travis Scott there, right? Like you don't need that moment. If The Rock isn't here, have Cena just like if Cena had won the match if the Travis Scott bullshit didn't happen, I would have been a little bit higher on the match overall. But it just fucking it took the fucking energy out of the fucking building. Cena winning his 17th championship, it didn't feel like this amazing fucking thing. Like, and I guess it wasn't supposed to because he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But like even the crowd, I mean, the crowd was happy that he won it, but the crowd was like down on it too. Like it wasn't like a super excited thing. It was like he won, yay, and then the show ended, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like the right result happened. Like don't get me wrong, I didn't want Cody to win this belt, to win the match. I wanted Cena to win this match, and I wanted him to win it in sort of the fashion that he won it by being a heel and cheating to win. Um, but like it's just the Travis Scott thing and the action in the ring that
Yeah.
took me out of it. If you cut the Travis Scott shit out and you have him low blow Cody and you have him hit him with the belt. So I wish I would have seen a little bit more like a AA or something like that to kind of
You
put
know
the
what?
emphasis on it. But it
Right.
fucking go ahead, man.
Prior to Travis Scott coming out. No. This is me agreeing with you. Like, I do agree the finish was lackluster, and I think that was maybe the point. Um, but prior to Travis Scott coming out, what you had was Hina? Cena had just exposed the turnbuckle.
Mhm,
He'd thrown Cody into it twice, and then he hits him with the AA.
mhm,
Right, he goes for the pin, and that's when Cody kicks out, and then the music hits. Right, you literally just have cut after that. The pin happens, like Cody gets pinned. Cena's won in a heel fashion because he's used the exposed turnbuckle.
mhm,
Right, so you have the exact same story being told. You just cut 10 minutes of
mhm.
pointless bullshit.
Yeah.
Right, and it was
I would have been
yeah.
much higher on it. Like that's how you like that's what I'm saying. Like, cool, have him win in a heel fashion, but like it didn't need all that bullshit. And
I enjoyed it. Go
it brought it down. It just brought it down. And
yeah.
I was like, it just as a
No.
it was an awful way to end the, in my opinion, a good night two of WrestleMania.
I feel like night two started up here and then went down. And
Mhm,
for a lot of the matches, right, you had the three at the beginning, which were great. You know, the women's, the street
mhm,
fight, and then the Intercontinental. And then you go to this comic relief match with Orton. And then you've got this pointless match with AJ and Logan. And then you've got this tag match. And then you've got Cena, which I think, like, I want to like it because I like Cena, but I like every single one of these matches I've given a grade for, right? That match, what I've done is I've written A stroke C, right?
mhm.
Because I don't feel like it was necessarily a bad match. I mean, you clearly
No.
hated it. I think I get what you're saying about the pacing, but if anything, I feel that sold the story better
Mhm.
from Cena's perspective of
Yeah.
veteran heel controlling pace, etc., etc.,
Yeah.
etc. So while it was less exciting, it sold the world to me more. It made it more
Mhm.
believable for me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just why we needed Travis Scott. I have no idea. It's like, to my knowledge, I'm like, sure, he's a celebrity, and I get that Mania has traditionally been a place where you have these celebrities come out and they have their moments, and but normally the celebrities are the ones that people are getting behind. Like almost always, a celebrity is considered to be a face, but people were cheering Cena and booing Travis Scott. It
Mhm.
was the most pointless thing you could possibly imagine. Um, and yeah, as much as I want to enjoy seeing Cena look and portrayed strong, I can't argue with what you're saying. It was the lowest way to finish, like what was ultimately a pretty decent, not just night, but two nights
Yeah.
of Mania. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It just ended a decent Mania, and it would have made it to I think if the finish was a little bit different, if they swapped the main events or whatever, I think it would have led to it go. It went from in my opinion, a good WrestleMania, like 7 out of 8, to dropping it down to that 6 out of 10 for me. Like at that
yeah.
point, I had it at about a 7. That main event happened, and like for me, like you can't end the show on a low note. You can't, and like it brings me back to the old, like the previous WrestleManias where Big Dog Roman Reigns always won, right? Like it's just like no one
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
that. That's what it felt like, right? It just felt deflating and like no one wanted that match to end that way. No one wanted Cena to win his 17th title with the help of fucking Travis Scott. Bro. Like,
Mhm.
fuck you. Like, fuck that, dude. And I think it literally boils down because I think The Rock was supposed to be involved, and then The Rock didn't want to be involved. And he actually did an interview literally the day before because people were pissed the fuck off. And he said, I was called in to move tickets. I gave them the soul story. And then I did that part. Cena turned on Cody, and I said, if y'all need me, I'll be there, but y'all got it from here. And he literally said that, and they needed The Rock for that one. If they had The Rock there, I think it would have made that moment of like the beatdown of Cody, the solidifying of like this is fucking corporate heel John Cena.
Yeah.
Like again, the story progression just doesn't make sense to me because you're like, okay, Cena's partnering, he sells his soul to The Rock. He's part of the corporation, da 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 da. But then this whole idea of the corporation's not even a thing they talk about because The Rock's not involved, so it's just
Nope.
heel Cena. Like the soul shit is like not even mentioned anymore. And it's just like now we just have a heel Cena, which is fine. But
Right.
you could have done that shit at fucking Mania. If you wanted to turn Cena heel to win his 17th title, have him turn heel on Cody at WrestleMania. Like that would be the fucking shit right there. That would make the moment that was already a fucking historical moment at Elimination Chamber happen, but have that shit happen at fucking Mania, not even needing The Rock there. Have Cena low blow him and hit him with the title to win his 17th title, and fucking there you go. You've got a perfect good heel Cena, which is the heel Cena that we have now because he's not talking about The Rock. He's not talking about anything negative. He's just being a heel. There's no storyline connection with The Rock at this point. You could have just had that shit happen at Mania, um, and not have The Rock involved, and now you've got this story where Cena's a heel. Because again, I like heel Cena. I think he's doing great work right now as a heel on the mic and what he's doing, and I'm excited for this heel run that he's going to be on. But you could have done it in different ways, and the payoff with having The Rock involved and the Elimination Chamber thing, that having him not involved at all
You know what? You know
does
what?
nothing for me.
If you just had the exact same match, yet instead of Travis Scott, Rock comes down, that like all the same moves, they don't need to do anything different, right?
Mhm,
It sells the world.
mhm.
However, what you've got is Elimination Chamber. Travis Scott was there to almost be the Rock stand-in for when it comes time to Mania, and I'm just like, I don't think we've
Yep.
seen Travis Scott since.
Mm-mm.
So I'm sorry, no, getting the fuck out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I get that. Look, let's move on. I think going forward, I think it's going to be interesting. We saw on Raw the Randy Orton's getting involved,
Yep.
which means we're
I'm
going to
fine
get
with
an
that.
Orton Cena match, and
Yeah. I'm fine
whoever
with that.
wins, I don't care. That is going to be stellar.
Yeah, no, it will be a good match. I'm excited that we're going to be going on a John Cena heel run, which we'll talk about, or when Backlash happens, we'll sit down and talk about a Backlash review and all that, and stuff like that, and maybe we'll sit down somewhere in between a long break of pay-per-views and talk about where we want to see shit happen. But like honestly, like this is just going to lead to a Cena heel run, which I'm here for. He's literally just going to go ahead and face all his opponents, but just being the heel in it, which I'm here for. I'm loving the dynamic of a face Orton versus a heel Cena. I'll love the dynamic of a face Punk versus a heel Cena. I'll love the
Yeah,
dynamic of a Roman Reigns versus a face Roman Reigns versus a heel Cena. Like
I'm not sure about that one.
I'm gonna enjoy seeing it along the way, and because you're gonna get that
Sure.
match. You'll get that's probably a match we're gonna get at some point. And we're gonna get these matches, and I'm excited for it. And all I know is that this is probably ultimately just gonna lead to a passing of the torch moment between Cody and Cena. And I'm glad they're kind of writing Cody off TV for a while because and he does deserve a break. He held the belt for over a year. He's been the face of the company. Kind of like he's getting a well deserved break. And I just hope when they bring him back, they bring him back the right way. And then I don't know when Cena drops the belt, but I do want to see a last, like, I don't want him to drop the belt to Cody and be done. I want him to have like another month left before he hangs it up as a
Hopefully redemption
face.
arc, right?
Like a little, like
Redemption
not
arc. That's what I'd
big,
like.
not a big redemption arc, but just like a good, like maybe the last 2 months he's there, have that redemption arc.
Sure.
And I'm here for it. And so that's how I again, I'm happy that he won it. He deserves it. Fucking thank God that he beat Ric Flair's record. Don't want to ever hear about it again. He's number 17. I hope, and I honestly hope to God no one breaks that record. And I don't think anyone will. But like, I don't.
No,
Because they don't.
Orton's the only one that's close, and I don't think Orton's going to do
it. And the way that they do title runs now, they're longer. They're not like 1 month here, 2 months here, 3 months here. Like it's like these are long. Like the world title reigns, they seem to be like good 4, 5, 6 2-year title rounds.
Yeah,
I don't think any new guy is touching that. I would kind of like to maybe see Orton tie Cena, or be one below, like just like if that's how it is.
See him getting to 16 times
because if anyone deserves to break Cena's record or be near Cena in that record compartment, it's Randy, because he's been there full time as a wrestler for 20 plus years. And he's not going to Hollywood. He is a WWE wrestler guy for life. So that's the only person I would ever want to see either. I don't want to see anyone break it, but if you're going to have two people tie, you're going to have it. It would be cool to just see Cena and Orton, or Orton one below, one or the other. But like that's the only.
It won't happen for a decade. I don't think Orton will break it. I don't think. I think Orton will retire before he gets to the point where he breaks it, and it will be maybe somebody that's just starting out in the industry or something. Like, I mean, frankly, of all the people that we've talked about tonight, I could see maybe Dominic Mysterio. Someone that's so fresh into the business, so young, that has got 20 years ahead of him.
Like a Braun or a Dominic, exactly.
Braun Breaker, someone like that, sure. But that's a conversation that we can have in 10 years' time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Nick, another long one, but we have recapped WrestleMania. It was a fun show. Really cool that we got to sit down and talk about it. I don't get to talk about wrestling like this with people, so I enjoy sitting down with you every time we get to do this. We'll go ahead and wrap up. Nick, do you have any final thoughts before we close out the podcast, my man?
Honestly, no. I think we have covered a lot of stuff here. Yes. We said it wasn't going to be 2 hours. Frankly, it's been way over that. So sorry, everybody.
It was 12 matches, guys. I promise, guys, the next, like the
I think it was like 14 matches.
Yeah, the Backlash one should be a lot shorter, guys. But guys, thank you guys again for listening. I hope you guys enjoy it. You guys love these podcast episodes, these wrestling podcast episodes. So continue showing that support. Let us know what you guys want to see us discuss. And me and Nick will be back after Backlash. So we'll see you guys in about 3 to 4 weeks. So until next time, guys, I've been Luke. That's been my partner, Nick. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.